Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the forgotten world of the ancient Slavs, where the first sound of morning is not a bell or a clock, but the crackle of a hearth fire and the breath of cold mist rolling over dark forests. You wake in a timber hut, the roof low and smoky, your body pressed into a bed of straw covered with rough linen. The air smells of damp wood and ash. Beyond the door a rooster cries, and somewhere in the distance an axe rings against fresh frozen logs. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, leave a comment sharing where you're listening from or which moment in history you'd most want to wake up in. Now let the firelight flicker across your closed eyes, feel the draft slip through the cracks of wood, hear the quiet stirrings of a village on the edge of the forest. Tonight we step deeper into their rituals, their gods, their strange and ordinary ways of life. The blanket against your skin is scratchy, woven from coarse wool, its fibers stiff with age. Beneath you, straw shifts with every movement, dry stems snapping faintly, releasing their dusty scent. You curl your toes against the chill that creeps up through the earthen floor. The morning air is sharp, the kind that wakes the lungs harshly, forcing your breath into short, visible clouds. The ceiling beams above you are blackened with soot, years of fire smoke soaked into their grain. From them hang bunches of dried herbs, wormwood for warding spirits, mint for illness, marjoram to flavour the winter stews. Each sway gently when you rise, brushing your hair, releasing scents both bitter and sweet. You listen. Outside, the world is already in motion. The low grunt of cattle, the restless shuffle of pigs, the occasional sharp bleat of a goat. Somewhere a dog barks, then growls, its voice swallowed quickly by the vast stillness of the surrounding woods. Beyond the village fence, the forest waits, dense, dark, humming with the unseen. You sit up slowly, letting the cold settle into your bones. Against the far wall stand clay jars filled with dried peas, millet and barley. A woven basket holds onions, their papery skins crinkling when touched. These simple stores are the difference between life and hunger. The harvest of months past lingers here, portioned carefully to stretch until spring. Your hand drifts to the hearth. The embers glow faintly, pulsing as if with breath. A clay pot sits close, soot staining its sides, the faint aroma of last night's stew still clinging. Meat was scarce, perhaps just a bone boiled for flavour, but the smell lingers rich, earthy, comforting. You run your fingers over the iron latch of the door. It is rough, pitted with marks of the blacksmith's hammer. Cold bites into your skin as you press down and open the door. The air that rushes in is colder still, raw and sharp. It carries the scent of pine, damp earth and smoke. You step outside, blanket wrapped tightly, your feet sinking into frozen mud ridged with frost. Mist curls across the ground, wrapping the village in pale threads. Chickens scuttle at your movement, wings flapping, their claws scratching the hardened soil. The village spreads before you in a loose ring of huts. Each roof is thatched, some patched with reeds, others with sod sprouting tufts of grass. Thin smoke rises from roof holes, grey fingers stretching upward. Wooden fences lean unevenly, binding animals within pens. At the centre stands a tall post carved with simple patterns, a marker, a watchful symbol, some say a reminder of Perun, the thunder god whose eye lingers even on quiet mornings. You pull your blanket closer. As movement catches your eye, an old woman crouches over a large hearthstone near the centre, her back bent, her hair tied in a rag. She bends low, coaxing spark from tinder. Her breaths are steady, soft puffs of life against the still air. At last the kindling catches, flame licking upward, thin and hungry. Children rush toward her, each holding a slender stick. They crowd carefully, their faces red from the cold. The woman dips her brand into the new flame and passes it along. Each child guards their fire splinter like a treasure, shielding it with cupped hands from the wind. One by one they hurry back toward their huts, carrying the flame inside. This ritual is older than memory. To begin the day with shared fire is to renew protection, to link every hearth in the village to a common source. Some whisper it is the fire of Svarog, the smith of the heavens, who once forged the sun itself. Others say the story has shifted with time, and no one truly remembers which god blessed the flame. Still, no one lets it die. To allow a hut's fire to fade is to invite misfortune, illness, or worse. A rooster crows again, sharp and insistent, breaking the hush. A dog answers, and from the field's edge crows rise in a black flurry, wings beating, voices harsh. They scatter into the mist, their cries echoing like laughter. For a moment the world grows still again. The cold presses close. You draw the blanket tighter, feeling its weight, hearing the soft hiss of fire growing stronger behind you. This is morning among the Slavs. No clock, no measured hour, only smoke, frost, and the pulse of shared flame. The fire takes hold slowly, smoke curling, sparks snapping into the pale morning sky. You draw closer, letting the warmth lick your chilled hands, though the air still stings with frost. The old woman rocks gently on her heels, muttering something low, words that blur between speech and song. You cannot tell if it is prayer or simply habit, but each syllable feels like it binds the flame more tightly to life. You carry your own stick into the flame, hold it there until the wood smoulders, then pull it back carefully. The ember glows red, breathing faintly in the morning air. You cradle it close, wrapping your hand to shield the weak flame from the wind. Around you, others do the same. One by one, the villagers spread outward from the central hearth, carrying fragments of fire into their own homes. It is like watching the heart of the village pulse, sending blood through its scattered limbs. Your hut waits silent, the air inside still heavy with sleep. You kneel by the hearth, coax the ember into the waiting nest of tinder. Dry moss and shavings catch. Smoke streams upward, and then flame leaps alive, filling the hut with its warmth. For a moment you simply sit, watching the dance of orange and gold across the blackened stones. The fire feels alive, almost conscious, demanding your care. You remember what your elders always say: fire must be greeted, fed, never ignored, so you reach for the small wooden bowl left beside the hearth. Inside are crumbs from last night's bread, scraps of dried apple, the faint crust of cheese. These are not for you. You sprinkle them into the flame. The bread blackens, curls, then vanishes in a hiss. The apple sizzles. The cheese smokes bitter and sharp. You whisper as you do it, not loudly, only enough for the flame to hear. No one agrees on exactly which god hears these words. Some say it is Svarozich, child of the sky, who guards every hearth. Others mutter it is Dazbog, the sun giver, who accepts these small offerings in exchange for the warmth of day. Still others argue that the fire itself is the god, needing no name. The truth is tangled, forgotten across generations, yet the act remains, as certain as hunger. The smoke twists upward, carrying scent and ash. You watch it slip through the roof hole, drifting into the pale sky beyond. Somewhere in the distance, another voice rises. A man, clearing his throat, begins to chant, low, rhythmic, repeating words that shift with the wind. It is not for all to hear. It is for the spirits that linger in corners and thresholds, those who are always near but rarely seen. You rise, push the door open again, and step back into the cold. Around the village, you see the same gestures. People leaning over their hearths, offering scraps, whispering words. A mother presses a kiss into her child's hair, then tosses a piece of bread into the flames. A bent old man holds a strip of dried fish high, then lets it fall, nodding as if answering a question only he can hear. You feel the rhythm of it, the village breathing together, houses pulsing with fire, smoke spiraling into the air. It binds you all, even if no one speaks of it aloud. Everyone carries the same weight, the knowledge that the gods, whether forgotten or half-remembered, still watch. The ground crunches as you walk toward the central post again. Frost clings to your shoes, cracking with each step. Beside the post, a girl kneels, pouring a splash of milk onto the earth. The liquid pools white against the frozen mud, steaming faintly in the cold. She bows her head, lips moving, then stands and wipes her hands against her skirt. Milk is precious, especially in winter. To pour it away seems wasteful, yet it is not waste if it keeps the unseen content. A breeze moves through the village, carrying the smell of smoke, milk, and earth. For a moment you catch something sharper, the tang of resin burning, someone feeding pine needles into their fire. The scent cuts through everything, crisp and green, filling your lungs. You pause, looking toward the forest edge. Shadows cluster between the trees. Long, narrow, still. It feels as if the forest itself listens. Elders say that offerings are not only for the gods above, but for the spirits that walk the woods, the leshy, the rusalki, the shapes that drift through mist. They do not demand worship, but they demand respect. To live here on the edge of wildness is to know you are never alone. The girl with the milk hurries past you, her breath puffing in quick bursts. She does not look at the forest. Few do for long. You return to your hut, letting the door close with a soft thud. The fire crackles inside, brighter now, chasing shadows into corners. You kneel again, feeling its heat against your face. The scraps you offered are gone, folded into smoke. You wonder if the gods noticed. Perhaps they did. Perhaps it is enough simply to act, to remember the old gestures even when their meaning is half lost. Your stomach stirs, faint with hunger. The pot from last night still hangs near the fire. You lift the lid and find a thin stew, little more than grain and water flecked with onion. You sip it slowly, letting its warmth seep through you. It is not feast, but it steadies your breath, eases the ache in your chest from the cold. Outside, the village noise grows. Voices rise, sharper now, calling names, greeting the day. A rooster crows again, answered by another across the clearing. A child laughs, sudden and bright, chasing a chicken into the mud. The air fills with rhythm, wood being chopped, doors creaking, animals shuffling. Yet beneath it all, the offerings continue. Every door you pass still opens to smoke. Every hearth still whispers. The fire is fed not only with wood, but with faith, with small gifts, with memory. You feel it in your bones. This ritual is more than habit. It is survival. To forget the fire, to neglect it, would be to invite cold, hunger, and silence deeper than night. You sit again by your own hearth, the heat warming your legs, the smoke prickling your eyes. The day has begun, tied to fire, sealed with offerings. The gods may be forgotten by name, but their presence lingers, hidden in flame, in smoke, in the simple act of giving. The smoke from each hearth rises higher now, grey ribbons twisting against the pale sky. The first warmth of the fires spreads through the huts, and the village begins to stir in earnest. You hear it before you see it. The dull thud of an axe, the hollow clatter of buckets, the shuffle of boots over frozen ground. You step outside again, pulling your blanket close. The air is raw, though softer now, the bite of dawn easing into something more bearable. The mist is thinning, retreating toward the forest edge, leaving the clearing damp and glittering with frost. You watch your breath cloud, drifting upward to mingle with the smoke. Around you, people emerge one by one. A boy with tangled hair drives the goats toward the pen, his bare feet stamping against the hard ground. A woman follows, her arms heavy with firewood, cheeks red from the cold. A man bends near the well, ropes squealing as he lowers the bucket. The sound echoes across the clearing, creaking like an old song. You move toward the well. Drawn by its steady rhythm, the wood of the frame is slick with frost. Its posts carved faintly with patterns, spirals, lines, circles. Some say they are charms against sickness. Others say they are simply the idle work of hands passing time. The truth, as always, is blurred. You run your palm over the grooves, feeling their depth. Cold bites your skin, but the wood feels alive beneath it, saturated with years of touch. The man hauls the bucket back up. It crests the edge, sloshing droplets flying into the air and catching the light. He pours some into a clay jug, then hands the rest toward you. You take it carefully. The water is icy, sharp against your fingers, but clear, clean. You lift it to your lips and drink. It tastes of stone, of earth, of the deep quiet beneath the village. Beside the well, a girl kneels, whispering as she cups her hands in the water. She dips her fingers, touches them to her forehead, her chest. Some say this simple act wards off sickness. Some say it pleases the water spirit, the rusalka, who may otherwise tug a careless soul beneath the surface. You watch her lips move, but the words are too soft to catch. When she rises, her face is calm, her eyes lowered, as though a weight has been lifted. The village is louder now. The clang of iron comes from the smithy. The blacksmith already at work, striking sparks from metal, each blow echoing like thunder against the quiet morning. The smell of hot iron drifts faintly through the air, mingling with wood smoke. Children run, laughing, slipping in the mud, their laughter cutting clear through the thicker sounds of work. You walk slowly between the huts. Their walls are dark, bark stripped, moss stuffed thick in the cracks. Doors hang uneven, some bound with leather hinges, others nailed crudely with iron. You catch glimpses inside as people move, the flicker of firelight, the curve of clay pots, the shadow of woven mats hung against walls. Life is narrow here, but each hut carries its own rhythm, its own pulse. A cart rattles over the frozen ground, pulled by a thin horse with ribs visible beneath its hide. The driver sits hunched, wrapped in furs, guiding the cart toward the edge of the village. Behind him, bundles of flax and sacks of grain shift with each bump. He will trade them, perhaps at a nearby settlement, perhaps with wandering merchants who appear as suddenly as they vanish. Trade is never certain. It is shaped by rivers, by roads that are more mud than path, by chance encounters. Yet without it, the village cannot survive. Salt, iron, sometimes honey, these flow not from fields but from trade. You pause near a hut where an old man sits on a stool, carving wood. His knife moves slowly, shaping the block into a spoon. Around his feet, curls of wood scatter like pale ribbons. His lips move as he works. Perhaps he hums, perhaps he mutters charms to steady his hand. He does not look up, but his knife never falters. Each stroke smooth and certain. The air shifts suddenly, carrying with it the smell of baking bread. Your stomach tightens. Somewhere, someone has already set their loaf near the coals, the crust hardening, scent rising. Hunger is constant, its grip familiar. Yet the smell is also comfort, proof that the day continues, that even in the bite of winter there is food. You pass a group gathered near the central post. They speak in low voices, gesturing toward the forest. Last night, someone heard wolves. Tracks were found near the pen. Their words are hushed, yet edged with unease. Wolves are not just animals here. They are omens, signs, the teeth of gods made flesh. To speak of them is to call them closer. The group falls silent as a rooster crows again, sharp, defiant. The sound rings out over the clearing, scattering the unease. The men nod, disperse, return to their tasks. The forest still waits, but the village cannot pause. You move further, drawn by the rhythm of life building around you. Each sound layers upon the other, the blacksmith's hammer, the clatter of buckets, the creak of cartwheels, the cry of animals, the soft chant of someone weaving charms against illness. The village awakens not with sudden noise but with gradual weight, each act adding to the whole, each gesture binding the people closer together. As you pass one hut, a child darts out, barefoot, cheeks flushed, clutching a bundle of twigs. He nearly collides with you, then stumbles, recovers, and runs on, laughter spilling behind him. His mother calls after him, scolding, but her voice is softened by a smile. You feel the echo of warmth, the brief reminder that even in hardship joy surfaces, sharp and sudden, like sunlight through mist. The sun climbs higher, its light pale, filtered by thin clouds. The mist has thinned, the frost softening into dampness. Chickens scratch the earth more boldly now. Goats bleat, pigs shove against their pen. Smoke continues to rise, weaving skyward grey against white. You return slowly toward your own hut. The fire within greets you with warmth, smoke curling, the scent of moss and wood filling the air. You kneel, add another log, watch sparks leap upward, hear the crack of splitting wood. The day has only begun, yet the rhythm of life is already set. Work, ritual, survival. You feel it pressing close, not heavy, but constant, steady, unbroken. This is the village's heartbeat, and you are part of it now. Your breath mingling with smoke, your steps matching its rhythm, your thoughts bound to its rituals. The village settles into its rhythm, though the day is still young. You hear the steady creak of the well's rope, the splash as the bucket sinks, the grunt as someone hauls it back up. Water is needed for every task, for cooking, for washing, for kneading bread, for watering animals. Without the well, life would shrivel. You walk slowly toward it, your feet crunching over thawing frost. The ground beneath you is damp, slick in places where buckets have spilled their burden. The well itself is simple but sturdy. A frame of dark wood, 2 tall posts with a beam stretched across. The rope, rough and frayed, coils thick around the winding pole. Its fibers are stiff with cold, damp with use, but strong. A young woman stands there now, both hands gripping the rope, her breath visible in the morning air. She braces her feet wide, lowers the bucket down into the deep dark. You hear the faint echo as it strikes the surface, then the sudden gurgle as it fills. She pulls with steady effort, shoulders straining, arms taut. The bucket rises slowly, dripping cold jewels of water back into the shaft. When she reaches the top, she rests the bucket against the wooden edge, catching her breath. She is not alone. An older man stands beside her, leaning on his stick, lips moving as he watches the water drip. His voice is low, broken, almost like humming. You listen closely, realizing it is no song but a murmur of words repeated again and again. A charm, perhaps, old words spoken into the morning to make the water safe. The woman dips her hand into the bucket, lets the cold seep into her palm, then presses the water to her forehead. Her lips, her chest. She shivers visibly, but her face is calm, her eyes lowered in respect. She hands the bucket to the old man, who repeats the gesture more slowly, his fingers trembling with age. Only after this small ritual does either of them lift the bucket fully free. You step closer. The water gleams like polished glass, pale against the dark wood of the bucket. You see your own face in it, distorted, wavering, as if another self waits just beneath the surface. You dip your hand in. The cold is immediate, biting deep into your skin, flooding your bones with chill. You splash a little onto your lips, taste the metallic tang, sharp and clean. It is refreshing, bracing, but also strangely heavy, as if it carries more than just the earth's depth. The old man watches you with pale eyes, nods slightly, then mutters, "Do not forget her." He doesn't explain who he means. You remember the stories of the rusalka, who lingers in waters, of the spirit who demands respect. Some say she is beautiful, with long hair singing in twilight. Others say she is pale and still, dragging the careless beneath the surface. No one agrees. Yet everyone leaves something, sometimes a crumb of bread, sometimes a coin dropped in secret. You glance down into the bucket again. Just water, dark and cold. Yet the echo of his words lingers. The woman pours some of the bucket into a clay jug, the rest into her own wooden pail. She balances it against her hip, adjusts her scarf, then walks back toward her hut, careful not to spill. The old man stays, still whispering to himself, tapping his stick softly against the frozen earth. The rhythm is steady, as though each tap is part of the charm, part of the prayer. You take the jug you filled and carry it back toward your hut. The weight is awkward, your fingers stiff from the cold against the clay. Each step sloshes the water, spilling a little over your hand. It stings colder than the air, but you grip tighter. As you pass between huts, you see others at their wells or their barrels repeating the same small gestures, dipping fingers, crossing themselves in old ways, whispering to no one visible. Some tie threads to the well post, red or white strands fluttering faintly in the breeze. They say the threads guard against sickness or against the envy of unseen spirits. Perhaps both. You reach your hut and step inside. The fire greets you with warmth, crackling softly. You set the jug beside the hearth, flexing your stiff fingers, then sit near the flame to ease the chill. The water gleams in the jug, pale and silent, waiting. Your thoughts drift as you watch the fire. Elders speak often of water and fire, the two halves of life. Fire devours, water nourishes, yet both can kill if left unguarded. It is said that the gods themselves shaped balance with these elements. Perun with his thunder striking fire into earth, Veles with his rivers winding below, keeper of the underworld. You feel them both here in the heat against your face, in the cold sting still clinging to your skin. Later you rise and pour a little water into a smaller bowl. You place it near the hearth where steam rises faintly. Some say it is for the domovoi, the spirit of the home who watches from corners, who can bring luck or mischief. You do not see him, but you feel the weight of his presence in the stillness. If he drinks, perhaps he will guard the house tonight. If he does not, perhaps the fire will falter. The gesture costs nothing, but to neglect it would cost more. Outside, the village continues to hum with life. The blacksmith's hammer rings, steady and sure. Children's laughter rises, then fades. A woman calls her husband, her voice sharp, but not unkind. The world is both ordinary and heavy, with unseen ties. Each act, drawing water, feeding fire, whispering charms, binds you tighter into that unseen web. You sit again, hands wrapped around your knees, letting the fire warm your face, the water glimmering quietly beside you. You think of the girl at the well, the way she dipped her hands, the calm in her eyes afterward. Perhaps she felt the blessing of the unseen. Perhaps it was simply the shock of cold water clearing her thoughts. No one can say. Records suggest that even centuries later, people will still argue over which of these rituals were pure faith and which were just habit. Yet to you, here now, it does not matter. What matters is the act itself, the giving of respect, the remembering. The fire pops, startling you for a moment. You watch sparks rise, then fade. Smoke curls upward, carrying the faint scent of the herbs hanging overhead. You breathe deeply, feeling both warmth and cold, both presence and absence. The day stretches ahead. There is wood to cut, animals to tend, food to prepare, but for now, you sit, between fire and water, between silence and sound, bound to a rhythm older than words. You choose the path that slips between huts and angles toward the trees. The air under the eaves of the forest feels different, cooler, hushed, as if the world inhales and holds its breath. Frost still rims the grasses in a lace of white. You step carefully, hearing the faint crush of crystals under your soles. Somewhere behind you, the blacksmith's hammer still counts the morning, a distant metronome. Here that sound arrives softened, as though the trees drink it, then let it go in gentler echoes. You pass a boundary only you can feel. It is not marked by a fence or a stone, only by a thinning of light, and a sense that your footfalls should be lighter. The oaks rise ahead, dark, high, their limbs like rivers frozen mid-surge. Bark splits in deep furrows, crusted with pale lichens. You reach out and lay your palm against one trunk. The surface is cool, faintly damp. It smells of sap and long rain. A squirrel skitters upward in a rush of claws, showering your shoulder with dust of bark. you do not brush it off. It feels like a sign, even if you cannot say of what. They call this a sacred grove. No walls, no roof, just the held silence of trees, the floor a mattress of leaves, brown and soft, stitched with roots. The oaks matter. Everyone knows that. Across lands where your people move and settle, oaks belong to thunder, to Perun, whose voice breaks the sky in summer, whose red beard flashes in lightning, whose hand holds the stone that splits trees and spears the earth. Mainstream lore remembers this with stubborn clarity. Oak for thunder, oak for oath. You walk deeper, careful to avoid the places where roots bulge like sleeping animals. At the grove's heart, a clearing opens, small and sun-patched. Someone has placed a low slab of stone there, flat as a table, its edges greened with moss. On it rest simple offerings, a twist of flax, a curl of beeswax, a few dried berries, the last heel of bread. You smell the wax before you see it, that faint honey scent that catches in the throat. The bread is hard as old wood, a thumbprint still dents its crust. You stand very still, even your breath feels too loud. Around the stone a few posts rise from the earth. Oak sticks smoothed by many hands, no faces are carved into them, only lines and notches, a kind of counting you cannot read. Some say there were once carved idols here, broad-bodied, stern-faced, set up to receive the gifts. Others claim such figures are a traveller's tale from far-off places. Records suggest that in some settlements statues stood proudly, while in others the grove alone held the god, the tree itself serving as the only witness. You look at the posts again. They keep their secrets in silence. You kneel and touch the stone. Cold shoots into your fingers. In a crack near the edge, a pebble gleams, smooth and glassy like the inside of a river. Someone has pushed it in on purpose, the way a child hides a treasure. You pry it free and turn it in your hand. It is blackened flint, shaped by old water and older hands. People call such stones Gromovik, the thunderstone fallen from Perun's grasp. In summer, after storms, children search fields for them, arguing over which stone is truest. You close your fingers around the flint. It is warmer than the air, as if holding a leftover spark. Your voice, when it comes, is little more than breath. You do not speak words you have memorized. You let the sounds assemble themselves the way smoke finds a path. You thank the oak for shade, the ground for holding you, the sky for its patience. You ask quietly that the fields drink rain, not flood, that wolves pass by rather than through, that fever, always a whispering threat, keeps its distance. You do not say Perun's name at first. When you do, you let it slide out like a true name you are borrowing. The wind moves and does not answer. A finch startles from a low branch, the whir of wings like a struck match. A pine cone falls somewhere behind you with a muffled knock. From far beyond the grove there is a rumble, no storm, only a cart on frozen ruts, but the sound skims your skin like the memory of thunder. You breathe and bow your head. You take from your pouch what you brought. Not much, a small coil of beeswax you softened by the hearth, and a pinch of salt saved from trade. The salt, bright as frost, you strew sparingly across the stone. It glitters, melts, vanishes. The wax you warm between finger and thumb, then press along the top of your knife's haft, filling the hairline splits. The scent blooms, sweet and clean. You set the knife down and rub a trace of wax across the stone's edge too, not to seal it, not to own it, simply because the impulse feels right. A quirky habit the elders shake their heads at, but they do not forbid it. The stone shines briefly where your touch has passed. To one side of the clearing a low basket sits tucked under a branch, woven from willow, half collapsed. Inside, scraps of ribbon coiled like faded snakes, bits of spun flax, 3 iron nails dark with age. You pick one out, feel its weight. Square-shafted, hand-forged, blunt-ended. Someone has hammered it once or twice, flattening the head into a crude loop. People thread such nails onto a cord and hide it beneath clothing, a quiet promise of protection. You put the nail back in the basket carefully, as if waking it might sting. A priest from another faith might one day say that none of this belongs to Perun at all, that thunder answers only to itself, that gods wear one face and not many. Letters hint that such voices will grow louder in centuries to come, that groves will be cut, stones lifted, idols burned, and names changed to new names. Perhaps, for now, no one in your village speaks of it. For now, the tree holds its own dark. For now, your offerings knit a small seam in the day. You walk the edge of the clearing slowly, counting the oaks without meaning to. 7 big ones stand like pillars. A younger tree leans, its trunk twisted by an old wound. Healed into a curve, you touch the scar with your fingertips. The bark there is tight and shiny, like skin that has forgotten how to be soft. You think of the fields and how a furrow repeats the same long curve, season after season, the ground remembering hands. The grove remembers too. You kneel again, this time to tie a thread to a low twig. Red wool, pulled from the cuff of a sleeve, twisted smooth. Your fingers work clumsily in the cold, but the knot holds. The thread burns against the brown world. A slender mark of your being here. When the wind comes, it will move like a pulse. People say the colour frightens away envy, human envy, spirit envy, even the gods' quick temper when storms crack the world. Others laugh at that and say, red is simply beautiful against winter. Both things can be true. You think of oaths. In disputes back in the village, men sometimes swear by an oak branch, lifting it and speaking their truth, ready to let it strike them if they lie. The custom is old. Chronicles will later note how people feared to break an oath by the thunderer. You picture a palm raised beneath summer cloud. You picture the silence just before lightning. Your mouth is dry. You sip the air slowly, as if it were water from the well. A fox crosses the far end of the clearing, small and bright, steps neat, head low. It does not look at you. Its tail writes a brief sentence in the frost that the rising light erases. Everything here feels brief and permanent at once. You rest your forehead against the oak. The rough bark leaves a faint map on your skin. You listen, beneath the wind and a far hammer, and your own blood there is a deeper hush that belongs only to places like this. It is not peace exactly. It is attention, an attentiveness that includes you without needing you. You exhale and let your shoulders drop. Some bring animal gifts here. A hen, a ram, blood on stone, steam rising in winter. Some say Perun demands it. Some say that belongs to different gods, different places. In your grove the offerings are quieter, bread, berries, salt, wax, threads, nails. The debates travel on other roads, in other mouths. You leave your small things and ask for small mercies. You are not reckless with your wishes. The light shifts. The patchwork on the ground brightens, then turns pale as a thin cloud slides over the sun. Time moves. You sense the village pulling at you like a tide. There is work to return to. A chain of tasks that begins at the well and ends at the last ember you cover at night. You do not hurry your leaving. You step backward first, 2 careful steps, eyes on the stone, on the oaks, as if to face the door while you go. At the boundary, again felt more than seen. You pause. You press the thunderstone flint into the notch of a root, not hiding it, not displaying it, just returning it to the place where it might be found again by hands that need it. You whisper one last line you did not know you had in you. Then turn. The forest breathes out. The cold seems less sharp as you emerge. The hammer in the distance takes up its clear rhythm again. A crow barks from the village palisade, annoyed at nothing in particular. You touch your knife hilt, the wax now firm, your glove faintly sticky with honey. Your thread glows red behind you until the path curves and it vanishes from sight. The air thickens with smoke again as you near the first roofs, bells. No, only wood knocking wood. Someone signalling a shared task. A summons to lift, to mend. You answer it with your steps. The grove rests at your back like a hand between your shoulders, steadying you as you walk into the day. The day stretches forward, carrying you into its noise. The hammer of the smith still beats steady, but new sounds weave through it now. Voices, sharper, calling, bargaining. You follow the path that curves toward the village's open space, where huts give way to a trampled clearing. It is not a market in the grand sense. No stalls of painted wood, no rows of merchants with fine scales. It is a patch of earth, churned to mud, bounded by carts and baskets. But here, trade breathes, and trade keeps breath in the village. You approach slowly, the ground sticky beneath your shoes. Wooden wheels have scored the earth, and frost lingers in the grooves. A horse snorts, shaking its mane, stamping to keep warm. Its breath puffs in white bursts. Beside it, a man adjusts the ropes around his cart, stacked with sacks tied tight. The scent of grain drifts out, dry and comforting, a reminder of autumn fields now locked under frost. Around him, others gather. Women with scarves tied under their chins carry baskets woven from willow, the handles worn smooth by fingers. A boy leads a goat on a rope, the animal bleating in protest, its eyes rolling. The boy hushes it with small jerks, nervous but proud. A girl carries a crock of honey sealed with wax, its surface glowing amber in the thin sun. The air smells of straw, of animal musk, of smoke that clings to every garment. You pause near the edge, listening. Voices overlap. Low but insistent, a man offers salt grains, coarse and white, poured from a small leather pouch into an open palm. Salt is precious, traded from far-off lands, carried in sacks across rivers and through forests. It tastes of the sea, though few here have ever seen the sea. A woman examines it carefully, her brows knit, then nods, handing over a bundle of wool spun into thick thread. The trade is sealed with little ceremony. A nod, a word, a turning away. Nearby, a girl slips something smaller from her basket to another's hand, dried herbs bound in twine. They glance around quickly, whispering, and one presses a finger to her lips. Perhaps these are charms, or perhaps simple medicine passed in secret. People say certain herbs heal wounds, others guard against spirits, others draw love or drive it away. The boundary between healing and spell is thin as the line between smoke and flame. You cannot tell which passes hands now, only that both act with quiet urgency. You step closer, and the ground here is softer, churned by many feet. A man holds up a small iron blade, notched and worn. He boasts of its temper, claims it will not bend even against stone. His voice carries, but his eyes shift nervously to the blacksmith's hut. To sell iron without his hand is risky. Iron is strength, and its forging carries weight of ritual as well as craft. Yet the trade continues, hidden beneath louder haggling. The scents change as you move among them. The sharp tang of fermented cabbage, sour and alive. The sweetness of dried apples, brittle slices stacked in a cloth. The smoky musk of hides, stiff with fat still clinging. Each smell pulls at you, mingling with the sound of bargaining. At the far side, a traveller leans against his cart, his cloak patched from many journeys. His beard is long, his hands cracked. On a cloth before him lie trinkets unfamiliar, beads of glass in green and blue, gleaming brighter than anything shaped here. They catch the pale sun and scatter it into sparks. Children crowd close, their eyes wide, whispering. The man speaks of far places, of rivers wide as 10 villages, of cities with walls of stone, of ships that cross waters without sight of land. His words stir the air, filling it with possibilities, though whether they are truth or invention no one asks. In trade, a story is sometimes worth as much as a sack of grain. You linger, listening. He offers the beads for wax, for hides, for flax. A woman hesitates, then unties the ribbon at her waist, dyed red with roots. and sets it down. He takes it, fingers the fabric, nods, and hands her the beads. She clutches them quickly, hiding them in her apron before slipping away. The exchange leaves a faint charge in the air, like the hush before rain. You walk further, and your eyes catch the small gestures others overlook. A boy drops 3 grains of wheat into the mud before lifting his sack to trade. A woman, before buying onions, rubs the hem of her scarf across her lips, murmuring words you cannot catch. These are the market's shadows, the movements that bind what is seen to what is unseen. Without them, trade would feel thin, incomplete. A dog prowls through the legs of people, snapping at scraps, eyes watchful. A child kicks at it, and the dog snarls before slinking away. The mother scolds her child softly, reminding him of something you've heard before, that dogs hear more than men, that their anger lingers, that to mistreat them is to invite their spirit's revenge. The child lowers his eyes, whispering an apology into the churned mud. You pause at a cart where a man spreads linen cloth. It is coarse, uneven in weave, but strong. He strokes it with pride, lifting a corner to show the light through it. His hands are rough, scarred from work, but the cloth is steady, proof of long hours at the loom. A woman nods, offering a jar of honey. He weighs it in his hands, dips a finger, tastes. His eyes brighten, and he nods again. The exchange is made, sealed by mutual satisfaction. The sun climbs higher, though its warmth is thin. Shadows shrink, and the noise of the market deepens. Haggling grows sharper, voices raised, laughter erupting in bursts. Yet always, underneath, the soft layer of whispers, the hidden trades, the charms and threads and gestures no one names too loudly. You stop near the edge again, watching the whole scene unfold. The market is not grand, not loud like the tales of cities, but here it is enough. It binds the village together, it ties it to places beyond the forest, it feeds both stomach and spirit. Every trade carries more than goods. It carries stories, respect, suspicion, hope. As you stand, a boy brushes past you, slipping something into your hand. It is small, wrapped in cloth. You unfold it slowly and find a sprig of dried wormwood, bitter-smelling grey-green. He glances back only once, then vanishes into the crowd. You know the meaning. Protection. Against sickness. Against spirits. Against envy. He has given it without words, a quiet act among the louder trades. You tuck it into your sleeve, feeling it scratch against your skin. The market continues, its noise pressing around you, its scents filling your breath. The day presses on, and already, hidden beneath the weight of goods, rituals unfold like threads invisible in the sun. You turn slowly, taking in the scene one last time. The horses stamping, the voices calling, the children clutching bright beads, the old man whispering into his bucket of salt. Then you step away, the wormwood safe against your arm, the memory of voices trailing you like smoke. The noise of the market fades as you take the path that bends toward the far edge of the village. Here the huts stand further apart, their fences lower, the ground softer with fallen leaves. The trees lean closer again, their branches lacing the pale sky. The air smells different, less of smoke and hides, more of damp earth and slow decay. You know where the path leads. Ahead, the sound of voices returns, not bargaining now, but chanting low and rhythmic. You quicken your pace, the frost crunching beneath your steps. Soon the trees open into a clearing. At its centre lies a long wooden table, rough-hewn, its surface scarred with years of knives and weather. Around it villagers gather, their faces solemn, their hands busy with bowls and baskets. You move closer, and the scents reach you first. Boiled grains, stewed cabbage, onions fried in fat, meat roasted dark on spits. The air is heavy with it, rich and warm, rising into the cold sky. Your stomach tightens not only with hunger, but with the gravity of the moment. This is not a feast for the living alone. On the table they place clay bowls filled to their brims, porridge thick with barley, bread round and dark, apples shriveled from winter stores, dried fish with skin gleaming like silver. Bones from yesterday's meal are arranged neatly on wooden platters. Every item has weight. These are for those who no longer eat, for those whose names are whispered at night when the wind rises. You take your place at the edge of the gathering. A woman presses a bowl of steaming grain into your hands. It smells nutty, earthy, filling. You raise it slightly before setting it on the table with the others. The steam curls upward, fading into the cold. Some say the ancestors breathe it, taking its essence, leaving only the husk behind. Others say the act itself matters more than the belief. To forget the dead is worse than hunger. An elder steps forward. His beard is white, his shoulders bent, but his voice is steady. He speaks names, one after another, each released like a thread into the air. You do not recognize all of them. Some belong to people long gone, their bones hidden under mounds now grown with grass. Others belong to those whose voices you remember faintly, who walked these paths when you were a child. The names build into a rhythm, a rope stretching backward into years you cannot see. The people bow their heads. A woman weeps quietly, her tears falling onto the bread she holds. She does not wipe them away. She lets them soak in, a gift of salt to mingle with grain. Another woman lifts her child and whispers a name into his ear, pressing the weight of memory into him before he understands. Beside the table, a fire burns. It is smaller than the hearth fires, built carefully of split logs, its smoke rising straight into the air. On it rest offerings that must not be eaten. Fat cut from meat, the hard ends of bread, bones cracked but not stripped. They blacken and curl, smoke twisting into shapes that vanish too quickly to name. Some say the dead come in smoke, drawn by scent. Others say the fire is only a doorway, a reminder that all must pass through flame in the end. You kneel briefly, placing your hand near the fire. The heat licks your skin, drying the damp of the morning, making your eyes sting. You whisper, though you do not know who listens. Perhaps your own ancestors, perhaps those of others, perhaps only the air. Still the words rise, carried upward like sparks. The feast begins in silence. People lift bowls, sip, chew slowly. They eat, not for fullness, but for memory. Each bite is small, measured, as if careful not to take too much from what has been shared. Children are hushed when they laugh too loudly, reminded with a glance that this is not ordinary eating. You take your own spoonful, the porridge heavy on your tongue, filling your chest with warmth. At the far end of the table, an old woman sets aside a portion of everything on a smaller dish. Bread, grain, meat, apple. She places it near the fire, bows deeply, then steps back. The dish sits untouched. No one will take from it. That food belongs to the unseen. Later, when the fire has burned low, it will be left at the forest edge, a final gift to those who walk where you cannot. The chanting resumes, low and slow, rising and falling like breath. You feel it in your chest, the vibration of voices woven together. It is not song, not exactly, but something older, closer to the rhythm of steps or the beating of wings. You add your voice, uncertain at first, then stronger, letting the sound carry you. For a moment you feel the line blur, the living on one side of the table, the dead on the other, but the food and the voices joining them together. The air grows thick with smoke. It stings your eyes, makes your throat raw, yet no one moves away. The discomfort is part of the act. To give without ease, to sit in the sting, proves sincerity. You cough softly, then steady your breath, letting the smoke wrap around you like a cloak. An elder leans close to you, his breath warm with mead. He whispers that the ancestors walk now, unseen but near, their hands hovering above the bowls, their voices echoing faintly in the crackle of the fire. You strain to listen. Only the wood pops, only the smoke sighs, yet you feel it, a pressure in the air, as if eyes rest on you from just beyond the veil. The feast continues until bowls are empty, until the fire burns low. Children grow restless, shifting in their mother's arms. The names fade, replaced by silence. The table remains cluttered with crumbs, bones, empty bowls, yet no one clears it. To do so too soon would seem like dismissal. It must linger, as memory lingers. Finally, the elder raises his hand. The people bow their heads once more. A final name is spoken, softer than the rest, drawn out like a sigh. Then the gathering breaks. People rise, gather cloaks, whisper to each other as they walk back toward their huts. The fire is left to burn itself out. The dish of food waits, ready to be carried to the forest when the shadows lengthen. You remain a moment longer. The smoke curls upward. The bowls sit heavy with crumbs. You touch the table. Feel the rough wood under your palm. It is scarred, pitted, stained with years of offerings. You think of how many hands have done the same, how many names have floated into the air. You whisper one more, your own choice, and let it go. The clearing empties, but the weight lingers. You feel both heavier and lighter, bound by memory yet unburdened by its sharing. The ancestors have eaten, the living have remembered, and the day will go on. You turn back toward the village. The path feels longer now, as if stretched by what you leave behind. The trees lean close again, their branches whispering above. Somewhere in the distance a crow calls, its voice rough, reminding you that the world of the living waits still, with its hunger and noise and work. You step from shadow into light again, smoke still clinging to your hair, the taste of grain still heavy on your tongue. The village hums again with ordinary work, yet the heaviness of the ancestors' feast clings to your clothes like smoke. You walk slowly toward the clearing where the ground dips, a place set aside for the midday fire. The sun hangs higher now, pale but steady, its warmth thin as cloth. People gather in twos and threes, carrying bundles of wood, branches stripped of bark, dry reeds tied with string. You pause at the edge. The air smells of resin and pine, sharp and biting. A boy drops his armful with a clatter, the sticks scattering. He laughs nervously, then scrambles to stack them properly. An older woman hushes him with a glance, her face lined but not unkind. She sets her own bundle neatly, each branch crossing the next in a careful lattice. The structure grows broad at the base, tapering upward, a small mountain of fuel. Your hands find their own bundle of sticks. The weight is rough, pressing splinters into your palms. You add it to the growing pile. The wood shifts, settles with a groan, as if the fire already breathes beneath it. Around you, voices murmur, low and purposeful. An elder steps forward, holding a brand from his hearth, the flame shivering at its tip. He kneels, touches it to a knot of dry grass at the center. Smoke curls, slow at first, then faster. The grass blackens, crumbles, then glows. Sparks leap upward, bright in the pale air. The fire begins with a sigh, then a crackle, then a roar as branches catch and flames climb. Heat pushes outward, reaching you where you stand. You feel it brush your cheeks, sting your eyes. The smell is thick, sweet with sap, sharp with resin. The flames leap higher, yellow and red tongues licking at the sky, their movement wild but graceful. People gather closer, forming a circle. The firelight dances on their faces, casting deep shadows into the lines of their skin. Children clutch their mothers' skirts, eyes wide, drawn both by fear and fascination. A man tosses a branch into the blaze, then steps back quickly, as if the fire might leap after him. You stand with them, the heat pressing stronger now, the sound of burning like rushing water. You hear voices rising, soft at first, then louder. They chant, not words but sounds, drawn from the crackle itself. You add your own voice, hesitant, letting it weave into theirs. The rhythm grows, a heartbeat carried by flame. Someone tosses herbs into the blaze, bundles of sage, wormwood, juniper. The smoke shifts instantly, biting and fragrant, filling your lungs with sharpness that makes your eyes water. The herbs crackle, sending sparks upward like stars. The scent lingers on your skin, sharp as memory. The fire grows higher still, taller than a man now, its crown whipping in the wind. Sparks scatter, vanish against the pale sky. The heat presses you back a step, then another. Yet the circle holds. To move too far away would be to break it, to show disrespect. So you stay, your cheeks flushed, your eyes watering, your heart beating in time with the roar. At the circle's edge, a woman steps forward. She holds a loaf of bread, its crust dark, its smell rich. She tears a piece, lifts it high, then throws it into the blaze. The fire seizes it instantly, the crust blackening, the inside bubbling and steaming before collapsing into ash. Others follow, apples wrinkled from storage, strips of dried meat, handfuls of grain. The fire devours them, its crackle sharper, its smoke thicker. These gifts are not waste. They are bridge and bargain. The flames carry them upward beyond sight to whatever waits above. Some say Perun himself takes them, pleased by the crackle of oak in flame. Others claim the smoke feeds the wandering dead, giving them strength for the road. The truth is uncertain, shifting with each telling, yet the ritual endures. You watch the fire's crown bend, then snap upward, like a beast tossing its head. The sound swells, drowning voices, filling ears with its hunger. For a moment, you feel it not only in your chest but in your bones, as if the blaze burns inside you too. You grip your cloak tighter, grounding yourself in its rough weight. Children are led forward now, urged by their mothers and fathers. They clutch herbs, sticks, small tokens. Each throws theirs into the fire, eyes wide, mouths open in awe. Some laugh nervously, some cry, but all obey. This is their bond, their first step into the circle of giving. The chant grows louder, the rhythm faster. Feet begin to move. Someone stamps in time with the flames, then another joins, and another, until the circle trembles with movement. People sway, step, circle the fire. The air is alive with rhythm, the ground trembling with it. You move too, your body caught by the pull. You step, then another, until your breath falls into the same pattern, your heart keeping pace with the chant. The fire throws shadows outward, long and wild. They leap across faces, across trees, across the frozen ground. For a moment the world feels split. The fire's circle alive and pulsing, the forest outside watching, silent, patient. You glimpse the edge of the trees and imagine eyes within them, unseen, reflecting sparks. Someone stumbles, and the circle tightens to catch them. Laughter breaks through, quick and sharp, before folding back into rhythm. The fire consumes endlessly, each gift vanishing into its heart. You feel light-headed, dizzy with heat and smoke, yet steady too, held by the circle. A gust of wind tears through, whipping smoke into faces. You cough, tears streaming, but the chant does not falter. The fire bends sideways, its crown bowing, then straightens again, stronger, brighter, louder. It seems alive now, not just wood and flame, but presence. You bow your head instinctively, unsure whether in respect or fear. The elder steps forward once more, lifting both arms high. His voice rises above the chant, a single note, long and clear. The circle quiets, voices fading, feet slowing, until only the fire speaks. He lowers his arms and the silence is full, rich, vibrating. The fire burns on, but the frenzy has passed. People step back, breathing hard, wiping eyes. Some lean against each other, shoulders touching. A woman cups her child's head, pressing it to her chest. A man kneels, pressing his palm to the earth, whispering thanks. You remain standing, watching the blaze. Its crown still leaps, but calmer now, steady, like a living heart beating in the center of the village. Ash drifts upward, scattering like pale birds. The smoke thins, trails across the sky, carrying gifts unseen. The circle breaks slowly. People return to huts, to chores, to tasks waiting. The fire will be left to burn down on its own, its embers carried later to strengthen hearths. For now it stands tall and strong, a pillar of flame holding the sky. You step back, the heat loosening its grip on your skin. Your clothes smell of smoke, your hair heavy with it. Yet you feel lighter, steadier, as if the fire has taken some weight with it, burned it into ash and carried it away. You walk slowly, leaving the blaze behind. Its roar follows you, fading with each step. The day presses on, but its center remains behind you, bright and alive, a reminder that even in cold and hunger, fire binds and protects. The roar of the bonfire fades behind you, though its smoke still trails across the sky like a banner. You turn toward the sharper sound, the iron song of the smith. Each strike rings out, clear and commanding, carving the air into rhythm. Even before you reach the low hut with its open doorway, you feel the heat pushing against the cold. The blacksmith's place is easy to find. It stands apart from the houses, close to the stream that runs even in winter. Its walls are dark with soot, its roof patched with sod that glows faintly green beneath frost. The air smells of smoke, of iron, of wet stone. You step closer, hearing the hiss and spit of quenched metal. Inside, the smith bends over his anvil, a heavy man with shoulders broad as oak trunks. Sweat beads along his brow, despite the cold dripping into his beard. His arms move with practiced rhythm. Raise, strike, turn, strike again. Sparks leap in arcs, brief suns that die before they land. The glow of the forge lights his face in red and gold, shadows flickering across his eyes. He works not alone. A boy, his son perhaps, or simply an apprentice, pulls the bellows with steady arms. Each push sends the fire roaring, its light swelling, its heat pressing outward in waves. The boy's face is flushed, his breath quick, but he keeps the rhythm. Without him, the forge would falter. The smith glances up briefly as you enter, then lowers his gaze again. His work cannot wait. He sets the glowing iron upon the anvil, raises his hammer, and strikes. The ring is sharp, echoing against the walls, filling your chest with vibration. You step closer, feeling the warmth spread through your bones. On the wall hang finished pieces, hooks, nails, knives, a broad axe head. Some are simple, plain tools for field and hearth. Others are more ornate, etched with faint lines, spirals curling across their surface. These are not for everyday use. These are for oaths, for offerings, for war. Each line carved into them is a whisper, a plea, a bargain with forces unseen. The smith lifts the iron again, glowing orange, edges soft with heat. He plunges it into the trough of water beside him. The hiss is violent, the steam rising thick and fast. It curls around your face, damp and hot, smelling of stone and ash. The sound is like breath being torn from the world. The boy pauses, watching, eyes wide. Some say the hiss is the spirit of the iron screaming as it hardens. Others say it is the sound of the god inside, bound and sealed. Still others believe the hiss carries a blessing, a cleansing, burning away what is weak, leaving only strength. You hear all of these in it. You feel your skin prickle as if the sound has entered you. The smith lifts the piece again, now darkened, harder, its edge sharp as frost. He runs his thumb along it, testing. Then he nods, satisfied, and sets it aside. The boy pulls the bellows again, and the forge roars, waiting for more. You step nearer the anvil, close enough to feel the heat directly, close enough to smell the iron itself. A tang like blood and stone. The smith glances at you, his eyes sharp, then gestures. He picks up a smaller piece of iron, half-formed, and sets it on the anvil. He raises his hammer, then pauses, looking at you as if to ask whether you understand. You nod, and he brings the hammer down. The ring is louder this time. Sharper. He lifts it again. then strikes. The rhythm is steady, pulsing like a drumbeat. You feel it in your chest, your arms, your feet pressed against the packed earth. Each strike shapes not just the iron but the air around it, the silence between. The boy pulls the bellows again, fire flaring bright. The smith works the iron, turning it, shaping it, coaxing it into form. Slowly, it becomes a blade, a small knife but sharp, useful. He works until it glows red again, then plunges it into the trough. The hiss is immediate, fierce, a voice of its own. You shiver despite the heat, though you cannot say if from cold or awe. The smith lifts the knife, dark and gleaming, steam still rising. He presses it into your hand without a word. The handle is rough, the blade unfinished, but it is solid, weighty. You feel the strength in it, the permanence. You also feel the echo of the hiss, still vibrating through it. You bow your head slightly in thanks. The smith nods once, then turns back to his work, already setting another piece upon the anvil. The boy pulls the bellows, the forge roars, the hammer rises, the rhythm begins again, endless, steady as the heartbeat of the village. You step back, knife in hand, and lean against the wall. Around you, the hut is filled with shadows that shift with the forge's light. You notice charms tucked into the beams, small carvings of animals, tiny bundles of herbs, feathers tied with string. They hang above the smith's head, protecting him, guiding his strikes. Some are worn, almost invisible with soot, yet their presence is strong. The woman enters quietly, carrying a basket. She sets it down near the wall, filled with bread, onions, a small flask of mead, payment, or perhaps offering. She bows her head briefly before leaving again. The smith does not pause his work, but you see his eyes soften for a moment, his shoulders ease. The boy coughs from smoke, then steadies himself. The forge bellows again, the fire leaps, the smith strikes, sparks flying. The sound fills the hut, fills your chest, fills the space between thought and breath. You feel it echo through you, a blessing hammered into air. You look again at the knife in your hand. Its blade is simple, its form rough, but it carries weight. You imagine using it to cut bread, to carve wood, to defend if needed. You imagine it lasting beyond you, carried by another, its edge still sharp. Tools outlive hands. The smith knows this. Perhaps that is why his blows are steady, patient, certain. You step outside at last. The air is colder here, the sky pale with thin clouds. Behind you the hammer continues, steady as a heartbeat. Before you the village stretches, huts smoking, children laughing, animals calling, life hums around you, but the sound of iron lingers, sharper, heavier. You hold the knife close, its weight a comfort, its hiss still alive in your memory. The smith's blessing is not in words, not in gestures, it is in the iron itself, shaped, hardened, cooled, given. You feel it in your hand, in your breath, in the rhythm still echoing in your bones. The rhythm of the smith's hammer fades behind you as you walk toward the sound of water. The path slopes gently, its earth dark and damp, lined with reeds that whisper when the wind brushes through. The air grows cooler here, carrying the sharp tang of river mud, a scent that clings to your throat. Each step softens, the frozen ground giving way to soil that yields beneath your weight. The river appears suddenly, a band of steel blue winding through the land. Its surface moves slowly, sluggish under the weight of winter, but never still. Thin sheets of ice cling near the banks, cracking faintly when the current tugs. The sound is constant, soft gurgles, low hums, sudden snaps. It fills the air more fully than the market or the forge, a steady voice that does not tire. You step onto the bank carefully, the reeds bending and breaking beneath your boots. The mud sucks faintly at your heels, leaving dark prints that fill with water. The air here feels different, as if thickened by unseen eyes. You pause, letting the sound settle into you. the current's voice threading into your breath. A woman kneels at the water's edge, her scarf pulled tight around her head. She dips a wooden pail, fills it carefully, then pauses. Instead of rising, she leans forward, whispers something directly into the rippling surface. Her lips move slowly, as if repeating a promise or a plea. When she lifts the pail at last, her eyes are lowered, her steps careful, as though carrying not just water but the weight of her words. You kneel where she left. The water laps faintly, touching your fingertips with its cold bite. You feel it instantly, a chill sharper than air, racing up your arm. The current tugs, playful but firm. You lean closer. The smell rises. Mud, reeds, fish, decay, life all tangled together. You hear it too, beneath the gurgle, a murmur that might be the river itself, or might be only your blood in your ears. The stories come back easily. The Rusalka, pale and beautiful, her hair long, her song sweet. She waits in rivers, in ponds, in lakes hidden under mist. She sings, and men follow, stepping too close, leaning too far. The water swallows them silently. Some say she is the soul of a drowned maiden, cursed to remain. Others whisper she is older, a spirit of the water itself, neither cruel nor kind, simply inevitable. You dip your hand again, cupping water, lifting it to your lips. It is icy, metallic, alive. You swallow, shivering as it slides down, a cold thread that seems to settle in your stomach like a stone. You whisper softly, words you do not plan, only sounds shaped by breath. Thanks, respect, acknowledgement. The ripples catch them, scatter them downstream, carrying them out of hearing. Behind you, children laugh. You turn, see them skipping along the bank, tossing stones into the current. Each splash echoes, small but defiant. A mother calls sharply, warning them not to tease the river, not to stir the spirit's anger. The children glance back, guilty, then scatter, their laughter fading into the reeds. The mother lingers, her face tight with unease, before she follows. You remain, listening to the water. A fish leaps briefly, breaking the surface with a flash, then vanishes. Circles spread outward, touching your reflection. For a moment, your face wavers, dissolves, reforms. It looks older somehow, as if the river remembers versions of you that never lived. You draw back slightly, the chill settling deeper into your skin. Beside you lies a bundle of herbs, tied with string, half buried in mud. Someone left it here, its stems brown and wilted. Perhaps an offering, perhaps a charm washed down from upstream. You pick it up, sniff it. Wormwood, bitter and sharp, though softened now by water. The smell clings to your nose, cutting through the damp. You set it gently back into the mud. Further along, two men stand waist-deep in the current, their bodies braced against its pull. They cast nets, their movements slow, practiced. Each throw arcs wide, the net spreading like wings before collapsing into the water. They pull it back, dripping, heavy with weeds, sometimes with fish that thrash silver against the cords. Their faces are calm, their voices low, almost like prayer. Fishing is not only work here, it is bargain, risk, gift. The river gives only what it chooses. You watch them a long while, the rhythm of throw and pull soothing, like the blacksmith's hammer softened by water. They do not look toward you, though once one murmurs something and nods slightly, as if to acknowledge both your presence and the river's. You nod back, silently. The sun tilts higher, casting silver light across the surface. The water glitters, broken into shards by ripples. The sound of the current deepens, filling your ears until it is almost too much. You close your eyes, breathe it in, let it wash through you. For a moment, you feel as if the river runs not only beside you but within you, its murmur echoing in your chest. You open your eyes again, blinking against brightness. The men wade ashore, their nets heavy now with fish. They set them down, gleaming bodies writhing, mouths opening and closing as if gasping for a song. The men work quickly, untangling, pressing the fish into baskets lined with reeds. Each movement is efficient, respectful. They leave one fish aside, small but whole, and slip it back into the water. You see it dart away, silver vanishing into shadow, a gift returned, or a debt paid. As they leave, the bank grows quiet again. You sit on a stone, watching the current move, endless, tireless. The reeds sway, their whispers blending with the water's voice. Somewhere deeper you hear again the murmur that is not quite sound, not quite silence. It brushes against your thoughts, lingers, then passes. You rise slowly, your knees stiff from the cold ground. You brush mud from your hands, though it clings beneath your nails. The river remains, flowing, murmuring, carrying secrets downstream. You step back onto the path, the reeds parting around you. As you walk away, you feel the weight of the water still in your chest. It is not heavy, not unpleasant, only present, a reminder. The river's murmur follows you, softer with each step, until it fades into the rhythm of wind and distant voices. You glance back once, and for a moment you imagine you see a shape in the reeds, a figure pale against the dark, hair long unmoving. You blink, and it is gone. Only water, only grass, only sky. Yet the feeling lingers, a thread pulling at the edge of your breath. You turn again toward the village, the knife at your belt warm against your side, the sound of the river echoing in your ears. The days stretch longer now, light holding the sky well into the evening. Warmth gathers in the air, softening the frost-bitten edges of earth, loosening soil that once cracked hard beneath your steps. By the time the sun begins to sink, the village is alive with voices, louder than usual, sharper with excitement. It is Kupala Night, the turning of the season, the time when fire and water meet, when the veil thins and both blessings and dangers slip through. You follow the others toward the open field beyond the huts. The grass is high here, bending in waves as people cross it, carrying bundles of herbs, baskets of food, jars of honey, and armfuls of wood for the fires. The air is thick with scent, wild flowers crushed underfoot, smoke already curling from small kindling, the sweet tang of mead uncorked too early. At the centre, men stack logs into tall pyramids, each larger than the bonfires you've seen before. They lean them carefully, branches crossing, bark scraped away to catch flame more easily. The piles rise high, their tips reaching like fingers toward the fading sky. Children scatter around them, shrieking with laughter, their hair catching light from the first sparks of torches. The women weave wreaths of flowers and herbs, wormwood for protection, fern leaves for luck, daisies for love. They place them on their heads, crowns of green and white and yellow. You are given one too, rough stems scratching your brow, the smell of herbs filling your nose. The wreath feels heavier than it looks, as if carrying the weight of hope and fear both. As dusk deepens, the fires are lit. One by one the pyramids catch, flames racing upward, roaring into the night. The heat rolls out in waves, brushing your face, drying the sweat already gathering on your neck. The crackle fills your ears, sharp and alive. Sparks drift into the darkening sky, mingling with the first stars. Voices rise too, chanting, singing, laughter breaking between. Someone begins a drumbeat. Hands on hide, steady and quick. Feet stamp in rhythm. Soon the circle forms, people swaying, turning, their shadows stretching wild across the grass. You join them, your steps awkward at first, then easier, pulled into the rhythm. The fires burn brighter, taller, the circle moves faster. Men and women laugh, clasp hands, spin, release, stumble, return. Children dart between legs, their faces painted by flame. Mead flows freely, passed in cups, sticky on lips, warm in the chest. The air hums with it. Heat, rhythm, drink, voice. Then comes the leap. The fires, though fierce, are made low at their edges, and people line up, laughing nervously, daring each other. The first man runs, his feet pounding, his breath loud, he leaps, arms wide, clears the flame, lands safe, stumbles into laughter. Cheers rise, and others follow. Pairs clasp hands, leap together, skirts flying, sparks snapping at their heels. The air fills with cries, laughter, shrieks as fire brushes close but does not burn. You are pulled forward. Your heart races, your breath quickens. The heat beats against your face as you stand at the edge, staring into flame. It roars alive, hungry, daring. You step back, then forward again. Then run. Your feet leave the ground. The air sears. Light flares beneath you. For a heartbeat you are nowhere, between earth and sky, between breath and fire. Then you land, knees buckling, feet sliding, but safe. Laughter bursts from your chest, loud and sharp, carried away by the night. The leap is more than play. Some say it burns sickness away, sears off misfortune, binds lovers together if they jump hand in hand. Others whisper it is proof for the spirits watching, a test of courage. Records hint that such leaps were both celebration and rite, their meaning shifting with each telling, but always marked by fire and laughter. The night deepens. Torches blaze along the riverbank now, their light flickering on the water. Women step forward, carrying their wreaths. They lower them gently onto the current, the flowers bobbing, the flames reflecting in ripples. The wreaths drift, spinning, carried by the slow pull of water. Eyes follow them closely. If a wreath floats steady, it means love will last. If it spins or sinks, the omen is darker. You kneel by the bank, lowering your own wreath. The water is cold against your hands, biting after the heat of fire. You let go, watching the flowers drift, the herbs turning, the petals catching torchlight. It floats steady at first, then spins, then steadies again. Your chest tightens, uncertain whether to read it as promise or warning. You let it go, the current carrying it out of sight. Laughter rises as wreaths drift together, spinning side by side. Lovers clasp hands, eyes bright, voices raised in joy. Others weep quietly when they sink or scatter. No one mocks them. The water speaks as it will. Behind you the fires roar higher, their crowns bending, sparks shooting into the sky. The circle of dancers still moves. Slower now, bodies heavy with mead, voices rough with smoke. Children doze against their mothers, heads lolling, wreaths slipping. The night hums thick with heat and scent and sound. You wander between fire and water, your skin hot, your hands cold, your chest full. The river murmurs, the flames roar, your breath falls in time with both. For a moment the boundary between them blurs. You imagine leaping into water as you leapt over fire, feeling both burn and chill, both cleansing, both alive. Someone begins a song, slow and deep. Others join, voices weaving, harmonies rising and falling, like the current. The words speak of love, of loss, of fire in the sky, and water in the earth. You sing too, your voice uncertain, but carried by theirs. The song grows until it feels as if the night itself sings, the stars pulsing in rhythm. The hours slip by. The fires sink lower, their crowns folding inward, their heat gentler now. The river carries wreaths further downstream, their flowers pale in the dim light. The singing fades into murmurs, laughter into whispers. Some lie in the grass, staring at the stars, the earth damp beneath them, the sky endless above. You sit by the bank, watching the last wreaths vanish. The torches flicker low, their smoke drifting across the water. You breathe deeply, the air heavy with ash, honey, herbs. River, your eyelids grow heavy, your body loose with weariness and warmth. The feast of Kupala Night lingers in your chest, its fire, its water, its laughter, its silence. You close your eyes, and for a moment you feel the world tilt, balanced between flame and current, between love and loss, between memory and forgetting. When you open them again, the fires are embers, the torch is ash, the river still moves, endless, murmuring. The night is softer now, and the village sleeps. Morning comes heavy after the night of Kupala. The air is damp, swollen with the scent of charred wood and trampled grass. Your body aches from dancing, from leaping, from laughter pressed into the bones, yet the day waits and the fields call. You follow others out past the village palisade, where the land spreads into wide, rolling ground. Here the soil is dark, rich with years of labour, lined with furrows that stretch toward the horizon. The crops rise in their neat rows, barley, rye, oats green against the grey of the sky. The air hums faintly, restless, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. Above, clouds gather. They begin thin streaks of grey drifting across the pale blue. But as you watch, they thicken, massing together, piling high. Their edges darken, their bellies swell. A rumble rolls across the land, low at first, then deeper, as if the sky itself clears its throat. The villagers pause in their work. A woman straightens from weeding, wiping her brow with her sleeve. A man rests his hoe against his shoulder, squinting upward. Children stop chasing each other and run back toward their mothers, their laughter clipped short. The air feels different now, charged, tense, vibrating faintly in your chest. A gust of wind sweeps through the fields, bending the grain in waves. It smells of rain before rain, sharp, metallic, heavy with promise. The villagers glance at each other, their faces marked with both hope and fear. Rain is life, yet too much is ruin. Drought starves, but floods destroy. Balance is fragile as the furrows beneath your feet. You hear the first crack, distant, faint, like wood splitting. Then the rumble follows, rolling long, filling the air. The villagers murmur the name without speaking it too loudly. Perun, the thunderer, the sky's hammer, the god whose voice splits clouds, whose bolts strike oak and field alike. Some bow their heads briefly, others cross their arms, their lips moving. You see a woman gather her children close, whispering words you cannot catch. A man reaches into his pouch and scatters a handful of grain into the wind. Tiny kernels whip away, vanishing into the tall stalks. The wind grows sharper. The clouds deepen into black, pressing low. A streak of light slices the sky, white, jagged, blinding. For a heartbeat the fields glow silver, every stalk etched in fire. Then the crack follows, deafening, shaking the earth beneath your feet. The children cry out, clutching their mothers. The men grip their tools tighter, as if metal might shield them. The storm has arrived. Rain begins in drops. Heavy, fat, striking your skin with force. Then it quickens, spilling in sheets. It soaks your hair, your clothes, your skin. The earth softens, mud rising between your toes. The crops sway violently, bending, some breaking. The villagers cry out, rushing to prop what they can, tying stalks together, bracing them with sticks. Work against water is futile, yet still they try. To do nothing would feel like surrender. Amid the rush, an elder steps into the open, his arms lifted. He carries a small bowl of honey, golden despite the dim light. He pours it into the mud, slow and deliberate, his voice chanting above the roar. Honey for Perun, sweet gift to soften his hand. The rain hisses as it strikes the ground, carrying the honey into earth. Nearby, another kneels, burying a piece of bread at the base of a young oak tree. His lips move quickly, a plea perhaps, or a bargain. The oak is sacred. Prune's tree, struck often, split often, but always rising again. To feed its roots is to feed his power, to ask his mercy. You stand soaked, the knife at your belt slick with water, your hair plastered to your forehead. Lightning splits the sky again. Closer this time, the crack immediate, violent. The air smells of ozone, sharp and biting. You taste it on your tongue. For a heartbeat, you feel the storm inside you, your chest rattling with its force, your skin alive with its charge. Then it passes, the rumble fading, leaving your breath shallow, your heart pounding. You glance at the others. Their faces are pale, wet with both rain and fear. Yet they do not stop. A woman ties bundles of herbs to stakes, driving them into the ground at the field's edge. Mugwort, wormwood, dill. Charms against blight, against hail, against spirits that might ride the storm's back. She moves quickly, her hands steady despite the rain. The storm continues, the sky flashing, the earth trembling, yet slowly something shifts. The rain eases, still heavy but less punishing. The wind softens. The stalks sway gentler. The clouds lighten at their edges. The storm is moving, passing, choosing to leave. The villagers slow their frantic work. They straighten, their breaths ragged. Some laugh suddenly, sharp with relief. Others kneel, pressing their hands into the wet earth, whispering thanks. Children peer upward, eyes wide, mouths open. The storm has not destroyed them. This time the balance holds. You kneel too, your palms pressed into mud, water seeping between your fingers. The earth is cold, heavy, alive. You whisper softly, words you do not choose, only let rise. Thanks, respect, acknowledgement. The rain carries them down, into the furrows, into the roots. The clouds drift further. The thunder fading. A pale band of light breaks through, casting silver across the wet fields. Drops glisten on every stalk, jewels strung in rows. The air is fresh now, washed, sharp with newness. You breathe it deeply, filling your chest, easing the tightness left by fear. The villagers begin to move again, slower, now calmer. They check the fields, the damage small but not ruinous. The crops will grow, the soil is fed. The storm has taken less than it could, given more than it might. That is enough. A boy splashes in the puddles, his laughter breaking the tension. His mother scolds him lightly, but she smiles as she does. Relief spreads, quiet but strong. The storm is already becoming memory, a story to tell of how close it came, how loud it was, how it spared them. You stand, your clothes heavy, your skin chilled, yet inside you feel a strange warmth. The echo of lightning still alive. You glance at the oak tree where bread was buried. Its leaves drip steadily, its trunk darkened, but it stands firm, its roots deep. You imagine Perun's hand lingering there, testing, then passing on. As you walk back toward the village, the mud clinging to your boots, the fields stretch behind you, wet, glistening, alive. The storm has spoken, and you have listened. Balance holds for now. By late afternoon, the fields glisten still. Though the air has calmed, clouds stretch thin across the sky, pale and streaked like worn cloth. The villagers return slowly to their huts, heavy with fatigue but lightened by relief. The storm is already slipping into memory, the way all storms do, talked about in murmurs, turned into a story before the ground has even dried. As you walk back toward the heart of the settlement, you notice a figure at the gate. He is tall though bent with travel, his cloak patched with rough stitches, his boots caked in mud that is not your village's soil. A staff rests in his hand, worn smooth by long use. His beard is streaked with grey, his eyes sharp but softened by distance. He carries no cart, only a small bundle slung over his shoulder. The children notice him first. They hang back, whispering, half curious, half wary. Strangers are rare, and those who arrive alone are rarer still. The dogs bark, circling him, but their tails wag, uncertain whether to warn or welcome. The man raises a hand, palm outward, showing he holds no threat. An elder approaches, cautious but not unkind. They exchange words you cannot catch. The elder's tone measured, the traveller's voice low but steady. After a moment, the elder nods. The man is allowed through. He walks slowly, his step heavy, yet his eyes do not wander. He seems to know the weight of being watched. By the time you draw near, a small crowd has gathered. People study him with interest, some frowning, others smiling faintly. He lowers his bundle, unties it, and spreads a cloth on the ground. Inside are small objects, carved bone figurines, a piece of amber glowing with inner fire, a shard of pottery painted with lines unlike your own. They glint in the fading light, drawing murmurs from the villagers. He speaks then, his voice hoarse but clear. He tells of distant places, of rivers wider than fields, of forests where trees climb so high the sun barely touches the ground, of villages where idols stand taller than men, their faces stern and bright with paint. He speaks of groves where fires burn without ceasing, tended day and night, flames said never to die. He speaks of markets where salt flows like sand, where traders bring glass that catches the sun and scatters it into colours no one here has seen. The villagers listen, silent, rapt. The children lean closer, their eyes wide. The elders nod slowly, measuring his words against memory, against stories passed from their own parents. Some exchange glances, skeptical yet unwilling to break the spell. Records, you remember, hint at such wanderers, carriers of news, sellers of trinkets, keepers of stories. Not all were trusted, but all were heard. He holds up the piece of amber, warm against his palm. The light inside glows as though the sun itself were trapped there. He says it comes from the sea, that water tossed it ashore after storms, that people there call it tears of the gods. Some murmur agreement, others frown. Still, a woman steps forward, offering a pouch of flax thread in exchange. The man nods, and the trade is made. The amber vanishes into her hand, the thread into his bundle. He continues. He speaks of gods too, names both familiar and strange. Perun, yes, but also others less known here. He says in one place people call him Gromovnik, the Thunderer, and in another his beard is said to be not red but black, his eyes not fire but storm cloud. He tells of Velis, keeper of herds in the underworld, trickster and protector both, who in some villages is feared more than honoured, in others beloved like a father. He mentions Mokosh, goddess of earth and women's hands, whose worship he says thrives in settlements further west. His tone shifts with each name, reverent, wary, playful. The villagers murmur, exchanging looks. Some nod. They have heard fragments of these names, half remembered from old songs. Others scowl, muttering that he speaks falsely, that he confuses truth with tale. Yet no one leaves. Everyone listens. He pauses to drink from a flask, then lowers his voice, speaking of rituals less familiar. He says in one place, people leap not over fires but through smoke, believing it cleanses them without burn. In another, they bury eggs painted red at the edges of fields, saying the shells hold back blight. In yet another, they whisper charms into wells, believing the water carries their words to the underworld, where spirits deliver them to gods. You feel the air tighten around you. Some of these things sound close to your own rituals, others foreign, twisted, yet all carry the same rhythm. Gift, respect, bargain, fear. The forms shift, but the need remains. The man reaches into his bundle again. This time he pulls a scrap of cloth, old, fraying. He holds it high. Painted on it is a figure broad-shouldered, arms raised, lightning in one hand, an axe in the other. The lines are faded, the colours faint, but the shape is clear. He says it is Perun, as painted in a village far from here, a place where the god's face is drawn like the sun, round and stern. Some gasp softly, crossing themselves in the old way. Others stare, eyes narrowed, lips pressed thin. The elder steps forward, studies the cloth, then nods. He does not speak, but the weight of his gaze is heavy. The traveller lowers the cloth, folds it carefully, places it back into his bundle. He does not press to trade it. Some things are not for trade. Night begins to creep across the sky. A fire is built smaller than the bonfires, but bright against the dim. The traveller is given bread, a bowl of stew, a place by the flames. He eats slowly, gratefully, nodding thanks. The villagers gather close, bowls in hand, their eyes never leaving him. After the food, the stories return. He tells of roads that run far beyond the forest, of rivers that meet seas, of cities where stone walls rise so high they seem to touch clouds. He says in those places the gods wear different names, sometimes the same faces, sometimes none at all. He shrugs when asked if he believes them all. He says belief is less important than memory, that stories carry strength whether true or not. The villagers murmur, uneasy but fascinated. Some laugh nervously, others lean closer. Children fight sleep, their eyes wide, their heads drooping against their mother's arms. The fire crackles, sparks rising, carrying fragments of story upward into the night. You sit quietly, the knife at your belt warm against your side, the scent of stew still on your breath. You watch the man's face, lined with years, lit by flame. His eyes glint when he speaks, not with deceit, but with the weight of many roads. You wonder how much is true, how much shaped to fit the ears that listen. Yet it does not matter. Truth and tale blur in the same smoke. At last his voice softens, trailing off. He leans back, his bundle close, his eyes half closed. The villagers linger, whispering, reluctant to let the night end. But slowly, one by one, they rise, carry their bowls away, return to huts heavy with sleep. The fire sinks lower, its glow steady, its crackle soft. You remain a moment longer, watching him. His eyes close fully now, his breathing slow, steady. He sleeps in the open, trusting the fire, trusting the village, trusting that story has bought him a place for the night. You rise quietly, stepping away, the fire's warmth fading behind you. The night air is cool, damp, heavy with the scent of rain still clinging to earth. The fields glisten faintly under moonlight. The wanderer's stories linger in your ears, mixing with your own memories, your own rituals. You walk back toward your hut, the fire a dim glow behind you, the sound of his voice still threading through the night. The wanderer's tales cling to the village long after his voice has gone quiet. In the morning, people speak of them in low tones, half believing, half doubting, each person reshaping the words to fit what they already hold true. Yet in their retellings something stirs, an unease that settles not in the fields or hearths, but in the shadows of huts, in the corners where herbs hang drying, in the whispers of those who know too much. You wake to that unease. The air is damp, heavy with smoke, yet sharper than usual. Outside, the sun lingers low, blurred by mist. Voices rise and fall, not with the steady rhythm of chores, but with tension, hushed and quick. You step outside, your breath mingling with the fog, and see a small knot of villagers gathered near one hut. Their faces are turned inward, their voices low, their bodies angled as if guarding against something unseen. The hut belongs to an old woman, her hair long and white, her eyes sharp even in shadow. She sits just outside, weaving herbs into small bundles, her fingers swift despite their gnarled joints. She does not look up at the murmuring crowd. Instead, she hums softly to herself, a tune that twists oddly, shifting notes in ways that unsettle the ear. You draw closer. The herbs in her lap are pungent. Wormwood, nettle, mugwort, plants known for healing, for warding, but also for darker uses. She ties them with twine, sets them aside in a basket, then begins another, her lips still moving with that strange tune. The villagers murmur louder, some crossing themselves, some whispering the word you've heard before but never spoken openly. Vedma, the woman does not answer. She works steadily, deliberately, as if their suspicion feeds her focus. Only once does she glance up, her eyes meeting yours briefly. They are not cruel, not soft either, only knowing, as if she sees something you would rather keep hidden. The glance lingers in you, sharp as a thorn, long after she looks away. The villagers begin to speak louder now, though still careful not to name too much. They say she keeps milk too long without souring. They say she mutters when children pass, and soon those children sicken. They say they saw her burying ashes by the riverbank, whispering as she covered them. None of them agree on what exactly she does, only that she does something, something beyond the ordinary, beyond safety. You remember the herbs hanging in your own hut, the thyme, the dill, the wormwood. They too are for healing, for warding. Yet when she holds them, the meaning shifts. Why? Perhaps because she is alone, without family, without children to soften her presence. Perhaps because her knowledge runs deeper, her charms sharper. Perhaps because fear needs a vessel, and her hut stands at the village's edge. The elder arrives, his staff tapping the earth. The murmurs quiet instantly. He speaks calmly, firmly, reminding them that herbs heal, that chants protect, that suspicion alone is no proof. Yet his voice, steady as it is, carries a tremor. He too remembers the wanderer's tales of distant gods, of charms turned darker, of rituals twisted. Memory and fear feed each other easily. The woman does not rise, does not answer. She finishes her bundle, sets it neatly with the others, and only then speaks. Her voice is low, gravelly, but clear. She says that herbs are gifts, that whispers are prayers, that sickness comes with or without her hand. She says she has buried ashes. Yes, but ashes of her own fire, given back to earth, as all must be. She says those who fear her should simply keep their distance. The crowd stirs, uneasy. Some nod, relieved. Others frown, unconvinced. The elder nods slowly, then gestures for them to disperse. They do, reluctantly, drifting back to their chores, but their glances linger. Their whispers trail after them like smoke. You remain a moment longer. The woman looks at you again, her eyes narrowing slightly. She asks if you believe them. The question hangs heavy in the air. You do not answer aloud. You feel the weight of your silence as much as you would the weight of words. She smiles faintly, without mirth, as if your silence tells her more than words could. You walk away slowly, back into the mist. Yet everywhere you turn now, you see signs you did not before. Herbs tied to doorposts, charms carved into wood, threads of red and white strung across thresholds. They were always there, yet today they feel different. Less like protection, more like warnings. The line between ward and curse blurs easily when suspicion grows. Later, you pass her hut again. Smoke curls from its roof, thicker than others, tinged with a sweet, sharp smell that makes your eyes water. You hear her humming again, the same twisting tune. Inside you imagine the herbs smouldering, the charms cracking in flame, the air thick with meaning no one else can name. Children run past, laughing, chasing each other with sticks. But when they near her hut, they slow, their laughter faltering. One throws a stone at her fence, quick and sharp, then bolts. The others follow, shrieking with nervous joy. The woman does not emerge. Smoke continues to rise, steady, unbroken. That night, as you lie near your own fire, you hear voices outside, low, urgent, moving past your hut. You lift the shutter slightly, peering out. A small group walks toward the forest, carrying torches, speaking in hushed tones. At their center is the old woman, her hands bound loosely with rope. She does not resist, her head bowed, her steps even. They stop at the edge of the trees. The elder speaks, his voice too faint for you to hear the words. The torches flicker, casting long shadows into the forest. The woman raises her head then, her lips moving, though no sound reaches you. The villagers shift uneasily, glancing at one another, gripping their torches tighter. The elder's voice rises, sharp now, commanding. The rope is untied. The woman steps into the trees alone, her figure swallowed quickly by shadow. The villagers remain a moment longer, their torches crackling, their breaths visible in the cold air. Then they turn back, returning to the village, their faces tight, their voices hushed. The torches vanish one by one, leaving only darkness and the distant hum of the forest. You close the shutter, the fire at your hearth snapping softly. The room feels heavier now, the shadows deeper. You wonder if she will return. Some say such women vanish into the woods, joining spirits, becoming part of the dark. Others whisper they return in other forms, an owl that watches from rafters, a fox that lingers too near the fields, a shadow that slips through cracks at night. Sleep comes slowly, uneasy. In your dreams, the smoke from her hut curls endlessly, its scent sharp and sweet, its shape twisting into faces you cannot name. You wake with the taste of it still in your mouth, the sound of her humming still in your ears. The village does not speak of her openly the next day, yet the whispers remain, stitched into the air like threads you cannot pull free. Witchcraft, some say. Protection, others argue. Fear settles over both words, making them nearly the same. The day stretches long, heavy with whispers still lingering from the night before. Work continues, fields tended, animals fed, fires stoked, but talk is quieter, laughter more brittle. By evening, when the air cools and the sun drifts low, a different rhythm begins. The bathhouse waits. It stands at the edge of the village, close to the river, its walls of dark logs stacked neatly, its roof low and damp with moss. Smoke curls faintly from a small chimney, carrying the scent of wet stone, ash, and something sharper, birch leaves burned for steam. The ground around it is trampled into mud, the earth marked with bare footprints. You walk slowly toward it, the air growing warmer even before you reach the door. The hum of voices filters out, low, muffled, interspersed with laughter, coughs, splashes of water. The sound carries a weight both ordinary and sacred, for the bathhouse is not only for cleansing the body, but for cleansing the unseen, where sweat leaves more than dirt behind. Inside, the air is thick. Heat presses against your skin, damp and heavy, clinging to your breath. Steam curls upward, white and shifting, wrapping rafters in mist. Shadows blur in the haze, bodies moving, bending, sitting, their shapes softened by vapour. The room smells of wet wood, of sweat, of birch and smoke mingled. You find a place near the wall, lowering yourself onto a plank bench slick with condensation. The heat seeps into your bones slowly, pricking your skin, loosening the stiffness of the day. Your lungs fill with air so thick it feels like water, every breath heavy but cleansing. A man across from you lifts a bundle of birch branches, their leaves damp and green. He dips them into a bucket of hot water, lifts them dripping, then strikes his back with quick, practiced strokes. The sound is sharp, rhythmic, like rain against a roof. Steam rises as the wet leaves slap skin, releasing their sharp, clean scent into the air. He passes the bundle to another, who repeats the act, grunting softly at the sting. You are handed the branches. The wood is warm in your grip, the leaves slick. You strike your own shoulders, your thighs, the sting quick but fading into warmth. The sweat pours faster, sliding down your back, your arms, your chest. The branches leave faint welts, but the release is real. Each strike feels like shaking off not only dirt, but something heavier, fatigue, sickness, worry. The voices murmur, some laughing, some chanting quietly. One man begins to hum a tune, low, steady. Others join, the sound vibrating through steam. It is not a song for performance, but for rhythm, for keeping the breath steady, the mind focused. The sound carries you, weaving through heat, making the air feel alive. Near the stones at the room's heart, a man pours water from a ladle onto their glowing surfaces. The hiss is immediate, violent. Steam bursts upward, filling the air with a wave of heat that presses against your skin like a hand. You gasp, then exhale, your body loosening, sweat streaming faster. The others sigh, groan, laugh at the sudden intensity. The room glows red for a moment in the dim light, then fades back to shadow. Stories murmur through the steam. Someone speaks of illness lifted after nights in the bathhouse. Another claims spirits lurk here, the bannock, who hides in corners, unseen but always near. Some say he blesses if respected. If offerings are left, a bar of soap, a crust of bread, a whispered thanks. Others warn that if angered he scalds with steam, scratches with unseen claws. The bathhouse is his domain, they whisper, borrowed by the living, only for a time. You glance at the dark corner near the stones. The steam shifts there, thicker, moving oddly. Perhaps it is only shadow, perhaps not. You lower your gaze, murmur a word of respect into your breath, letting the steam carry it. The heat grows unbearable. Sweat runs into your eyes, down your chest, soaking the bench beneath you. The others rise one by one, moving toward the door. You follow, stepping into the night air. The coolness strikes you instantly, shocking, your skin tingling as if the air itself were water. You gasp, your lungs filling with freshness after the heavy steam. Some run straight to the river, plunging into its dark surface with shouts. The splash echoes, water spraying, laughter breaking through the quiet. Others roll in the grass, pressing their hot bodies against the damp earth, sighing with relief. You choose the river. The water grips you like ice, searing, shocking, yet cleansing beyond measure. Your skin tightens, your breath catches, your body trembles. Then you release, floating briefly, letting the current pull at you. The river hums against your ears, its voice muffled, endless. When you emerge, gasping, you feel lighter, as if something has been drawn out and carried downstream. You return to the bathhouse, steam spilling from the door as others re-enter. The cycle repeats. Heat, birch branches, hiss of water on stone, plunge into cold. Each round loosens more, cleanses deeper, laughter grows louder, the tension of the day washing away in sweat and water. Later, the room grows quieter. The bodies sit slumped, breath slow, faces flushed, eyes half closed. The heat is softer now, the steam gentler. Someone hums again, the tune low, winding, more lullaby than chant. The bannock is left a small gift, a crust of bread tucked near the stones, a word of thanks whispered. The steam curls around it, carrying it away. You step out once more into night. The sky is clear, the stars sharp, cold, endless. Your skin steams in the cool air, the chill biting but not cruel. The village lies quiet, huts glowing faintly with firelight. The river murmurs softly, less threatening now, more like a lullaby. You walk back slowly, your body loose, your breath easy. The knife at your belt is cool against your skin, no longer sticky with sweat. You feel lighter, your steps softer, as though you carry less. The bathhouse has taken something from you and given something back. Strength, calm, balance. As you near your hut, the voices of others fade, doors close, shutters drop, fires crackle low. The night is still, the air crisp. You slip inside, the warmth of your own hearth greeting you. The steam lingers on your skin, the scent of birch in your hair. You lie down, your body sinking into straw, your breath deep and steady. You think briefly of the whispers, of the woman gone into the forest, of the bannock hiding in steam. But your body is too heavy, too clean, too tired to hold the weight of fear. Sleep comes quickly, carrying you like the river's current. The bathhouse's warmth still clings to your skin when a sharp knock at your hut's door wakes you. The air inside is quiet, your hearth a faint glow, smoke drifting lazily upward. Outside, the night is deep, the sky a blanket of stars, the moon pale and low. Another knock comes, then a voice, low but firm, your turn at the palisade. You rise slowly, the straw rustling beneath you, your muscles heavy but steady after the heat and cold of the bathhouse. You tie your cloak, grasp your knife and step into the night. The air cuts colder now, crisp enough to sting your lungs. The village lies hushed, its huts crouched in shadow, smoke rising faintly from roof holes. Only the sound of your boots on frozen earth breaks the silence. The palisade looms at the village's edge, a wall of sharpened logs driven deep into the ground. Its tops are jagged, its gaps filled with moss and mud. Torches sputter in their brackets, smoke twisting into the sky, their light flickering on wood, dark with age. You approach the gate, where two men wait. One shifts his weight, yawns, hands you a spear. The wood is rough in your grip, the iron tip cold, slick with dew. "Keep your ears open," one mutters. "Wolves near the fields last night." His eyes are hollow with fatigue, his breath sharp with mead. He nods once, then leaves, disappearing into the dark toward his hut. The other follows, shoulders slumped, relief in his steps. You are left with silence, broken only by the faint crackle of torches and the murmur of the forest beyond. You climb the narrow ladder to the watch platform. The wood creaks under your weight, the rungs slick with frost. At the top you step carefully onto the planks, gripping the spear tighter. From here the village lies beneath you, its roofs pale in moonlight, smoke drifting upward like prayers. Beyond, the fields stretch silver with frost, and further still the forest presses close, a dark sea rising against the horizon. The night is still at first. You hear only the whisper of wind through the palisade, the occasional bark of a distant dog, the faint cough from a hut below. Your breath clouds before you, fading quickly into air that seems to swallow sound. You shift your weight, the wood groaning faintly. Time moves slowly here. Minutes stretch long, broken only by small sounds. The rustle of a mouse in the grass below, the flap of an owl's wings overhead. Once you hear the distant crack of a branch in the forest. You tense, your hand tightening on the spear, your eyes searching the shadows. Nothing moves. The silence after is heavier than the sound itself. You remember the stories told at such posts of shadows that move without bodies, of lights flickering between trees, of whispers carried by wind. Some say the forest is never empty, that unseen eyes always watch. Some claim the dead wander there, restless, drawn by the scent of smoke and hearth. Others insist spirits linger near the palisade, testing its strength, slipping through cracks when the watchman blinks. You force yourself to breathe slowly, to steady your grip. The torchlight flickers, casting long, jagged shadows across the ground. You watch them carefully, as if they might detach themselves and move. Your heart beats heavy in your chest, but the silence holds. An hour passes, maybe more. The cold seeps into your bones, stiffening your fingers, numbing your toes. You shift from foot to foot, stamping lightly to keep blood moving. The spear grows heavier, though its weight does not change. Your eyes blur, your mind drifts. But you force yourself awake, a watchman who sleeps endangers all. Then you hear it, a sound low, drawn out, carried on wind. A howl. It rises from the forest, long and mournful, filling the night. Others answer, nearer this time, sharper, overlapping. Wolves. The hairs on your neck lift, your chest tightens. Below, a dog barks wildly, chained near a hut. Another joins, their cries urgent. Warning, lights flicker as shutters open, voices rising. Worried, the wolves do not show themselves, but their voices circle closer, louder, echoing from every side. You remember the elders' words. Wolves are not only beasts, but omens. Perun's hounds, some say, hunting those who stray. Others claim they are the dead returned in fur, prowling the edges of villages, waiting for weakness. Their howls are more than hunger. They are reminders. The voices grow louder, closer, then suddenly stop. Silence crashes down, heavier than the noise. The dogs whine, restless, ears pricked. You strain your eyes against the forest's edge. Nothing stirs, no movement, no sound. Yet the silence is worse than the howls. It presses against you, thick, suffocating, as if something waits just beyond sight. You whisper a charm under your breath, words half-remembered, simple but steady. Your breath clouds carried by the wind toward the trees. You grip the spear tighter, feeling the iron cold against your palm. Minutes drag, the silence holds. Then faintly you hear footsteps in the village below. Another watchman arrives, climbing the ladder slowly, his face pale in torchlight. He nods at you, his eyes tired but steady. You feel relief loosen your chest slightly. The watch is not born alone now. Together you stand, scanning the fields, listening for sounds that do not come. The wolves remain unseen, their voices swallowed by the night. Perhaps they have moved on, perhaps they wait, perhaps they were never there at all. The uncertainty lingers heavier than certainty ever could. The hours pass slowly. The moon climbs higher, its light cold and silver. The torches burn low, their smoke acrid, their flames sputtering. At last, the first hint of dawn softens the sky, pale blue bleeding into black. Birds begin to stir, their calls hesitant, breaking the silence. Your shift ends. You climb down carefully, your legs stiff, your hands numb. You hand the spear to the next man, his breath fogging the morning air. He nods, his eyes sharp, his shoulders squared. The watch never ends, only changes hands. You walk back toward your hut, the village stirring faintly, smoke rising anew from hearths. The memory of the wolves lingers in your ears, their howls echoing even in silence. You feel both wearied and sharpened, as if the night has carved something into your bones. The palisade stands, the village sleeps, and you return, carrying the weight of the watch inside you. Morning hardens into a grey, serviceable daylight. You are carrying water from the well when the sound comes again. Not a bell, but wood striking wood. Once, twice, a third time, measured and slow. The knock rolls over the yards and fences. Through smoke and thin air, the villagers way to gather breath into one place. You set the bucket down. The handle thunks against the rim, water lapping. People lift their heads. Doors open. Cloaks are pulled tight. You follow the flow toward the central post, the ground damp and giving from recent rain. At the clearing's edge, a space has been kept bare, trampled to a pale oval. Men stand to the right, women to the left, children held close. In the centre, a low table squats, just a plank on trestles, and beside it a bucket of water dark as iron. A strip of red cloth runs across the plank, weighted at each end with stones. The elder, staff in hand, waits with two others, the blacksmith with soot still in the lines of his hands, and the beekeeper whose beard smells faintly of smoke and honey. Their presence steadies the day. A dispute draws not only law but craft, as if strength and sweetness both must witness what is said. You edge forward until the table fills your view. The water's surface trembles even without wind, a skin that quivers with every breath around it. To one side lies a slim oak branch, sap dried to lacquer on its cut end. Its bark is ribbed and cold. Someone has pressed a twist of flax around it. A pale cuff. The elder lays his palm on the branch briefly, then lifts it, the small motion quieting the last murmurs. Two men step into the open. The first broad-shouldered, eyes red from a night's worry. The second, narrow, jaw tight, hands careful at his sides. Words have already been said elsewhere. The crowd knows the shape of the trouble. A boundary moved, a line ploughed deeper into a neighbour's field than memory allows. Land is grain is winter. The harm is not small. They speak in turns. The first points toward the path that runs past the willow stump, claims the stone there has always stood at the corner. The second shakes his head, says the stone was shifted in spring when the frost lifted and the ground heaved. Out of the corner of your eye you see three old men nod to themselves, as if counting harvests in their heads. Facts here are carried in mouths, not in ink. Truth rides memory, which frays. The elder raises the oak branch. By thunder, he says, simple as that. No long speech. The words are heavier when short. He holds the branch out. The broad-shouldered man places his right hand on it, fingers curling until sap tackiness sticks to his skin. He swallows. The elder's staff taps the plank once. The sound snaps small and dry in the cold. "Speak," he says. Your chest tightens as the man breathes in. He keeps his eyes on the water. Not the elder, not the crowd. "By oak and sky," he says, voice steady. "By the one whose stone splits trees, I speak truth. My plough followed the old furrow. If I lie, let the fire strike me, or the water take my harvest." He lifts his hand. The resin threads cling like spider silk. Then snap, he wipes them on his cloak without thinking, leaves a dark streak. The second man steps forward, places his palm. He is colder, or perhaps stubborn. The branch does not stick as hard. "By oak and sky," he repeats. "If I lie, let sickness eat my grain." The phrase is not the same. A few shift their weight, word shapes matter, even when they rhyme. He releases the branch and stares at the bucket as if it stared back. The elder gestures to the water. The beekeeper lifts it by its wire handle and sets it in the center. Steam does not rise. The surface only reflects the sky's flat color. You remember what the wanderer said, how in some places men reach into boiling water to prove truth, how hands come out unmarked when gods agree. Records suggest that such ordeals wandered across these lands like the traders themselves, taking root in some villages and not in others. Here it is not boiling. Here the trial is steady, harder in its quiet, a hand to the wrist, held until the elder counts to the end of a prayer, and then judged by the stillness of the water and the calm of the hand. The broad-shouldered man goes first. He draws a breath so large you can see it fill his shoulders, then plunges his hand. The surface folds around him with a soft, thick sound. He does not look up. The elder's voice begins, slow and simple, not a verse, but a naming, of field, of house, of sky, of oak, of river. With each word, your own breath matches the rhythm, the way you match the blacksmith's hammer without meaning to. The man's fingers flex once under the surface. The water shivers but does not splash. When the elder says the last name, which he never speaks aloud until the right moment, the hand lifts, skin pale, veins blue as flax. It drips quietly, only enough to darken the red cloth. He steps back, jaw tight, no triumph in his face, only relief. Now the second. He reaches quicker, as if to end it fast. The water accepts him with the same dull sound. The elder's voice starts again, slower now, as if time itself had been padded. The man's jaw clenches. A muscle jumps in his cheek. Halfway through, the water quivers more sharply. Perhaps a tremor in his hand, perhaps wind, though the air is still. Some in the crowd inhale. A child whimpers and is hushed. The elder speaks the last name. The hand lifts. For a heartbeat, a long oval drop clings to his wrist, then falls. It spatters the red strip, brighter, wider. You feel your own pulse in your thumb. The elder says nothing at first. He looks at both men's hands. The color of skin, the steadiness of fingers. He looks at the water, how it lies down after disturbance. He looks at the oak branch. Then he nods to the blacksmith. The blacksmith steps forward and takes up the oak. His soot-dark knuckles close around it with an assurance you feel across the space. He lifts it shoulder high and brings it down, not to strike the men, but to strike the plank. The knock is deep, resonant, a thunder in miniature. He does it once only. The sound settles like a stone thrown into a pond. The furrow stays, he says quietly, indicating the line claimed by the first man. You move no stones until harvest ends. If you do, may iron refuse your hand. It is not exactly law. It is correction sown with curse. Yet in this village the smith's words carry their own metal. Mainstream chronicles written far away will speak of oaths sworn by Perun and Velis to seal treaties between princes and emperors, steel and storm bound into words. You think of that from a place you cannot name. Here the same shape is smaller, but no thinner. A plough line instead of a border, an oak switch instead of a marble idol, but the same thread runs through. The second man's mouth opens, then closes. His eyes flick toward the forest, then toward the fields. He nods once, quick and jerky, as if yanked by a string. The elder turns the oak so its cut end faces him. "Will you hold to this?" the elder asks. The man lifts his palm, touches the sap, and this time lets it stick as long as it wants. "I will," he says, and the words sound scraped. A pressure eases that you hadn't noticed settling on your shoulders. The crowd exhales. Someone coughs into a sleeve. The beekeeper wipes the plank with the edge of his coat, dabbing away the larger drops, careful not to smear the red cloth's line. The water goes back to its place by the post. A woman covers it with a wooden lid, as if to spare it more seeing. You notice then the small things that make the moment true. Barley chaff caught in the broad-shouldered man's beard, shining like gold dust. Resin tack on the elder's thumb, gathering pale dirt. A streak of juniper smoke in the beekeeper's hair, sweet and ghostly. These are the village's marks, as binding as words. The elder raises his staff for closing words. He speaks not of gods now, but of neighbours. How boundary lines once wandered like streams before fences. How stones heave with frost. How memory needs help. He says the fields will be walked again after harvest by both families and 2 witnesses. That new markers will be sunk, heavy as iron, deep as oaths. He does not ask agreement. He asserts it gently, and the murmured assent folds over the space like a blanket. You look at the bucket one more time and think of how water holds what hands do, and then forgets. The trial's stillness seemed simple. Hand steady, surface quiet. But your own hand held out trembles now in the cold. You flex it, warming blood back into fingers. A child reaches for the oak. His mother pulls him back, whispering that it's still hot with God. Is it? Records hint that some villagers kept special rods cut on particular days from certain trees and never burned. Others used whatever branch lay near. The oak in your village is both ordinary and not, its cut end sticky with the same sap that glazed the posts in the grove. People begin to break apart. Turning toward chores, the broad-shouldered man's wife presses bread into the second man's hand without looking at him. He stares at the gift a heartbeat, then tucks it into his belt and bows his head. A small civility, a stitch pulled through rough cloth. As the crowd thins, you catch the blacksmith washing his hands in the very bucket. The hiss tiny compared to his forge, but still a hiss. He shakes water from his fingers, then wipes them on his apron. Iron refuses no one, he mutters to himself. A private correction no one else hears. He lifts the oak, weighs it, sets it back down with care. The elder raps wood on wood once more. The sound travels out through the lanes, striking fences and doors, returning as fragments. For an instant you feel the same attention that held you in the grove. Not exactly peace, not exactly fear, but a gathered stillness. Oaths have been spoken, the day can move again. When you step away, the air tastes faintly of wet bark, and the cold edge of the water you touched earlier at the river. Your palm smells of sap, your fingers shine. The wind picks up thin and quick, and the red strip trembles on the plank, a vein beating in cloth. You rub your hands together for warmth, the tack pulling lightly at your skin, and head toward the path that leads between houses and smoke. The weight of the oath lingers in the village, even as the sun leans westward. Work resumes, but quieter, as if the ground itself still listens for echoes of the elder's staff. Yet by evening another summons passes from mouth to mouth, softer than the knock of wood but heavier in meaning. A man has died. Not suddenly, not violently, age carried him where storms and hunger had not, but still the village gathers. Death is never only private. You follow the path out toward the birches, where pale trunks lean close, their bark peeling like old parchment. The air beneath them is cool, shadowed, even though the sky above still holds light. The ground here is softer, a mixture of moss and loam, scattered with last year's leaves. This is where the people bury their dead, away from the hearth yet not far from memory. Already a group waits. Women carry cloth, men carry shovels. Children cling to skirts and watch with wide eyes. The body lies on a plank supported by stones, wrapped in a linen shroud, the face covered, flowers faded, brittle from winter stores are tucked into the folds. At the head, a small loaf of bread rests, hard but whole. At the feet, an iron nail, dark and cold, catches the fading light. The elder stands nearby, his staff planted in the soil. He speaks low, measured words, not prayers as some would know them, not demands, but reminders of who the man was, of where he walked, of the fields he ploughed and the animals he tended. His voice does not rise or fall. It flows steady as the river. Each word binds the man's memory to the air before the body passes beneath the earth. Two men step forward with shovels, their movements practiced but heavy. The soil gives reluctantly at first, then more easily. The damp earth, dark and fragrant, clods thud onto the growing pile, the sound dull, final. The pit deepens. Sweat beads on their foreheads though the air is cool. The rhythm of digging feels familiar, like the rhythm of sowing, though the harvest here is silence. When the grave is ready, the body is lifted gently, the plank carried by 4 men. Their faces are solemn, their steps careful. They lower it slowly, the shroud settling into the earth. The bread is placed at the head, the nail at the feet, a coin slipped quietly by a woman into the fold of the linen. Payment, perhaps, or protection, or simply memory pressed into metal. Records suggest such customs varied. Some buried tools, others food, others charms whispered over. But always something was given. No one crosses into the other world empty-handed. The elder sprinkles water from a clay bowl onto the shroud. Drops darken the linen. Seeping quickly, he mutters words part blessing, part warning. The water glimmers briefly in the last light, then vanishes into cloth and soil. A woman kneels beside the grave. She scatters herbs, thyme, dill, a sprig of wormwood across the body. Their scent rises sharp, cutting through the damp earth smell. She whispers as she scatters, her voice too low to catch. Perhaps names, perhaps charms. Then comes the covering. The first clods strike the shroud with a heavy sound, muffled, final. The children flinch, clutching closer to their mothers. More earth follows, each scoop falling like a drumbeat. The shroud vanishes, then the outline of the body, then the plank itself. Soil fills the space, dark and heavy, until the pit is level with the ground once more. Men pat it down with the backs of their shovels, smoothing the mound. Women press branches of birch into the soil, their white bark stark against the dark earth. A final loaf of bread is left at the foot, its crust already softening in the damp. Birds will eat it, perhaps, or animals, or perhaps the dead will find a way to taste it still. Silence follows. The elder lifts his staff, presses its tip into the mound once, leaving a shallow mark. He steps back. The people bow their heads briefly, then straighten. Some cross themselves in the old way, touching brow, chest, shoulders. Others simply place their hands over their hearts. The group disperses slowly, feet crunching on leaves, voices low. Children are led away, their questions hushed. The shovels are carried back toward the village, their metal dulled with earth. The elder lingers a moment, his hand resting lightly on one of the birches. Then he too turns, his staff tapping softly against the ground. You remain. The mound lies quiet, the birch branches leaning over it like watchful arms. The air is still, though somewhere far above a crow calls, its voice rough echoing. You kneel briefly, pressing your hand to the soil. It is cool, damp, heavy. You whisper nothing, but the silence feels like enough. When you rise, the sky has deepened into twilight. The trunks of the birches glow faintly in the fading light, their peeling bark pale against shadow. The mound blends into earth, yet you know its shape, its place. It will not vanish. You walk back slowly, the village lights flickering ahead, smoke curling upward. Behind you the birches stand, their leaves whispering softly, their roots deep in soil that now holds another. The night gathers, and the burial folds itself into memory. The village will speak of it tomorrow, perhaps with sorrow, perhaps with warning. But tonight it rests beneath birch and soil, the bread softening, the nail cold, the earth closing its mouth around silence. The days shorten. Each morning frost clings longer to the roofs and fences, and each evening the fire in your hut burns lower before the stars fully rise. The harvest is done, the fields are bare, the granaries are stocked with what the land has given and withheld. Work does not stop, but its rhythm shifts. Now comes the season of waiting, of holding steady against the long dark, and before it settles fully, there are rites to close the year. The summons is not a knock or a horn this time, but smoke rising thick from the central hearth long before the sun sinks. You follow the others toward it, your breath puffing white, your feet crunching over frozen earth. The air smells of pine resin, strong and sharp, mixed with the faint sweetness of honey. A great fire is being built again, larger than any you have seen, its base stacked with logs as thick as your arm, its sides bristling with reeds, branches, bundles of straw. Around it people gather. Some carry jars of mead, some loaves of bread, some dried herbs tied in bundles. Children clutch small wooden figures, carved animals, crude dolls, little wheels etched with spirals. Each gift, whether large or small, is placed near the fire. None are kept back. This is the last giving before the year turns, the last chance to balance debts with the unseen. The elder stands nearest the fire, his staff upright, its top wound with a strip of red cloth. Beside him is the blacksmith, his apron clean for once, his hands washed, though still dark, with years of soot. On the other side, the beekeeper hums softly, carrying a pot of honey sealed with wax. Their presence signals the rite's gravity. Strength, sweetness, and wisdom all must join. The fire is lit as dusk falls. A torch touches the reeds at the base, and they flare instantly, crackling loud, their smoke bitter but brief. The logs catch slower, their bark blackening, their cores glowing red, then bursting into flame. The heat rolls outward, pushing you back a step. Sparks leap into the twilight, carried upward like a swarm of fireflies. Voices begin, at first low, then louder, rising with the flames. They chant not in unison, but in weaving lines, some calling to Perun for storm's mercy, some to Velis for safe herds, some to Mokosh for fertile soil, and steady hands. The names overlap, contradict, blend, yet the sound does not falter. It builds heavy, steady, wrapping the fire in rhythm. One by one, people step forward with their offerings. A man throws a loaf into the flames. A woman pours mead from a clay cup, the liquid hissing as it strikes the logs, its scent sweetening the smoke. Children place their carved figures carefully at the fire's edge, watching as heat blackens them. Then flame takes them fully. The smoke rises thick, pungent, carrying sweetness and bitterness alike. You step forward too, holding what you have chosen, a strip of cloth torn from your cloak, dyed faintly red. You toss it into the blaze. It flares bright, curling, then vanishes. Your chest loosens as you watch it burn. The gift is small, but it is yours, and the fire takes it without question. As the offerings continue, the elder speaks. His words are simple, repeated each year, yet they hold weight. He speaks of balance, fire for water, giving for taking, memory for forgetting. He speaks of ancestors, their names woven into smoke. He speaks of seasons, their turning as certain as the sun's rise, their patience greater than any fear. His staff taps the earth with each line, steady, grounding. The blacksmith steps forward, holding a bar of iron, short and thick. He thrusts it into the fire, burying it deep among the coals. The flames roar louder, sparks spraying. He steps back, his eyes narrowed against heat. The iron will stay until the fire burns low, hardened by both flame and faith. When pulled, it will mark the year's end, strong enough to cut through fear itself. The beekeeper follows. He opens his pot, the wax breaking with a soft crack. The scent of honey floods the air, thick and sweet. He pours it slowly into the fire. It runs golden for a heartbeat, then darkens, bubbling, smoking. The sweetness becomes cloying, almost sharp, filling lungs, coating tongues. The people cough softly, eyes watering, but no one turns away. The bees are gone for winter, their hives sealed, but their gift lingers, binding the year with sweetness. The chant swells again. Faster now. Feet stamp, hands clap, bodies sway in rhythm. Children laugh nervously, then join, their voices high above the deeper tones. The flames rise, taller than a man, their crowns bending, twisting, reaching. For a moment it feels as if the fire itself sings, its crackle a voice, its sparks a chorus. Then comes the circle. People clasp hands, forming a ring around the blaze. You are pulled into it, your hands slick with sweat against another's, the rhythm carrying you. The circle moves slowly at first, then faster, turning, stamping, pulling tighter around the fire. Heat lashes your face, your cloak flaring with sparks. You laugh breathlessly, your body caught between fear and joy. At the circle's height, the elder raises his staff. The chant falters, then stops. The circle freezes, breath ragged, eyes fixed on him. He lifts the staff high, then drives its tip into the ground. The crack echoes sharp. Silence falls, broken only by the fire's roar. He speaks then, his voice loud, carrying. He names the year gone, its storms, its hunger, its deaths, its harvest, its laughter. He names what was lost and what remains. He names the gods, one by one, their blessings, their warnings. His voice shakes once, but he does not stop. When he finishes, the silence deepens, thick as smoke. The blacksmith steps into the blaze's edge, his hands wrapped in cloth. He grips the bar of iron buried within, pulls it free. It glows white, molten at its tip, sparks spraying. He lifts it high, his arms steady, his face set. The glow lights his beard, his eyes reflecting fire. For a heartbeat, the whole village is lit by the iron alone, brighter than torch or flame. Then he thrusts it into a trough of water. The hiss is violent, deafening. Steam erupts, rolling outward in waves. The smell is sharp, metallic, final. The iron is set aside. Dark, now, hardened. The fire roars on, but the rite has ended. People step back, unclasp hands, their breaths still quick. Children cling to mothers, eyes wide. Men wipe sweat from brows. Women adjust scarves damp with steam. The elder lowers his staff. The year has been sealed. Slowly the crowd disperses. Some remain, watching the fire burn lower, their faces lost in thought. Others return to huts, their shoulders eased, their steps slower. The circle's rhythm lingers in your bones, echoing with each step. You stay until the flames shrink to embers, the logs glowing faintly, their heat gentler now. The smoke rises thin, pale against the stars. The birches at the burial ground sway faintly in the distance, their trunks catching starlight. The air is cold, but you feel warmth inside still, carried from the circle, from the fire, from the rhythm of voices woven into night. The last rite of the season rests in you as you turn back toward your hut. The year has ended. Another begins. The fire's embers still glow faintly when dawn comes. The sky shifts from black to deep blue, then softens with the faintest streaks of rose. Frost crusts the fields, glimmering where the light touches it. Smoke rises from huts in thin grey lines, carrying the smell of damp wood and ash. The village is quiet, hushed in that moment between night's end and day's beginning. You wake with a start, the straw beneath you stiff, your cloak heavy with cold. The hearth has gone out, only ash remaining. You stir the embers with a stick, coaxing faint sparks to life, but they fade quickly, leaving only grey. For a moment silence reigns. No crackle of fire, no hum of warmth, only your own breath in the cold air. Outside, voices begin to stir, soft at first, then stronger. The people gather again, drawn not by summons but by habit, by the rhythm of years repeating. You join them, your steps crunching over frost, your breath curling into the still morning. The air smells of smoke, of damp earth, of new fire waiting. In the clearing, the elder stands with his staff once more. His face is pale in the dawn light, his eyes heavy with age, but steady around him. Villagers bring small brands from their hearths, their tips glowing faintly, their smoke rising in thin threads. Each brand is laid onto the central fire, where new logs have been stacked. The fire catches slowly at first, then quicker. Flames rise, crackling, warming faces turn toward it. The brands vanish, consumed, their smoke mingling. From many hearths, one blaze is born again. This fire will be divided later, each family carrying a piece back to their huts, relighting their hearths from its heart. Unity made visible, flame shared as breath. The elder speaks quietly, his voice carrying in the stillness. He says the year is not new, because the sun has risen, but because hands have gathered, because voices have joined, because fire has been shared. He names no gods this time, no threats or promises, only the village, its people, its breath. The simplicity carries more weight than thunder. Children are given small sticks, their ends dipped into the blaze. They shield the flames carefully, proud, carrying them back to relight their families' hearths. Their faces glow with firelight, eyes bright, cheeks flushed. Mothers guide them, fathers steady their hands, neighbors watch with quiet pride. The circle holds strong. You take your own brand, its flame small but alive. You carry it carefully, shielding it with your hand against the wind. Its heat warms your palm, its smoke stings your eyes. When you reach your hut, you crouch by the cold hearth, set the flame to kindling. Slowly the wood catches, smoke rising, crackle beginning. Warmth fills the room again, pushing back the cold, the silence, the weight of ash. The fire grows, steady, alive. You sit before it, your hands outstretched, your breath easing. The brand you carried burns away, its gift passed on. The hearth glows once more, as it did at the year's start, as it will again. Outside, the village hums with new sound. Fires are lit in every hut, smoke rising thicker now, filling the air with warmth and life. Voices call to one another, laughter breaks through. The fear of storm, of hunger, of whispers fades, replaced with the rhythm of work beginning anew. The cycle turns, as it always has, as it always will. You step outside again. The sun has climbed higher, its light pale but steady. The frost melts, dripping from roofs, soaking the ground. Children chase each other through the clearing, their laughter sharp and clear. Women carry water from the well, men lift tools. The elder rests his staff across his knees. Life begins again. You breathe deeply, the air sharp but sweet. The gods are not gone, the rituals not forgotten, the dead not silent. They remain woven into soil, into water, into fire, into memory, but the weight of them feels lighter now, steadier, a thread rather than a chain. You walk among the people, the fire in your hearth still warm in your chest. The new cycle has begun. The sky softens, pale blue deepening toward dusk again. The day stretches onward, but its edges blur. You walk once more among huts, their smoke rising, their doors closing softly. The sound of work grows faint, fading into stillness. The cycle continues, but your part in it eases, your steps slowing, your breath deepening. The birches at the burial ground whisper quietly, their branches swaying in a wind that barely touches your skin. The river murmurs, steady, its current endless. The fire crackles in your hearth, its warmth steady, its glow soft. These sounds fold together, The whisper, the murmur, the crackle, carrying you gently out of this world and into rest. You feel your body loosen, the weight in your shoulders dissolving, your breath falling into rhythm with the land itself. Each inhale draws in coolness. Each exhale releases heaviness. The air is safe, the ground steady, the fire close. The voices of the gods, of the ancestors, of the unseen grow distant now. Their weight fades, their shapes soften, their names drift away like smoke into night. What remains is warmth, quiet, and the slow beat of your heart. You're safe now. That world of oaths and storms, of fire and river, of whispers and rites, fades behind you. It dissolves like mist under morning sun, leaving only stillness. Your breathing slows, your eyes grow heavy, your body settles into rest. The hearth glows faintly, embers soft and red. The air hums low, steady, gentle. You drift, carried as if by water, as if by wind, as if by nothing at all. Sweet dreams,